Chapter 81 Violent Disassembly below. Bang! Dong Shenyao's punch was very powerful, and he also used chakra in it. When he hit the puppet, he quietly turned his fist into a rock, so this punch directly knocked the puppet flying. If you look closely at this time, you will find that there is a crack in the place where the puppet was hit by Dong Shenyao. And just as Dong Shenyao had just shot the puppet, Mirai had already rushed over. After approaching Ta Shenyao, Mirai directly waved his hand and stabbed it out. Mirai was quick and ruthless this time, and stabbed Dong Shenyao in the heart. Although Mirai is not slow, Ta Shenyao is faster. I saw that he squatted down to avoid Mirai's attack, and then punched Mirai's abdomen. In the face of Dong Shenyao's attack, Mirai did not dodge or dodge, and let him attack, while Mirai turned his arm, rushed down the tip of kunai, and stabbed Dong Shenyao in the back, with a pair of injuries in exchange for it. Hurt look. Bang! Dong Shenyao punched Mirai in the abdomen. Although the outside of Mirai's belly had been modified and a very hard wooden board was installed, it still caused Mirai to suffer. It's just that he endured the pain and stabbed Kuwu on Dong Shenyao's back. This time, even Kimura Fumino was nervous. This Ta Shenyao is obviously the real body, and it is even more impossible to give him a chance to hand seal at this time. Kimura Fumino does not know how Toho Shenyao will dodge. Ding! Hearing a crisp sound, Mirai's kunai didn't pierce Dong Shenyao's body, but only cut through his clothes. What's going on? Mirai was stunned. Did he make his body into a puppet like me? Such a thought flashed through Mirai's mind. But soon he denied his guess, not to mention that puppet technique only has the Sunagakur village meeting, just to make a person's body into a puppet. This is not what ordinary puppet masters can do. After realizing that Mirai's attack failed, a sneer appeared on the corner of Dong Shenyao's mouth. How could he let Mirai attack him if he wasn't fully prepared? The training during this period is not in vain. Dong Shenyao has made great progress in both the use of Doden, earth style, and the development of soil fruit, and the method of blocking Mirai at this time is one of his achievements. 1. At this moment, Mirai was in a daze, but Ta Shenyao was not. Drink! Dong Shenyao shouted in his heart, and punched Mirai again with all his strength. By the time Mirai came back to his senses, it was too late, and Dong Shenyao's punch hit Mirai firmly in the abdomen. Bang! This punch was extremely powerful, and it directly knocked Mirai out for dozens of meters, and when it finally landed, a puff of dust was splashed. Dong Shenyao did not stop at all, and immediately chased after him. After barely getting up, Mirai felt a cramp in his stomach. At this time, he was a little fortunate that his abdomen had been modified, otherwise Dong Shenyao's punch alone would make him lose his combat effectiveness. Seeing Ta Shenyao rushing over, Mirai controlled the puppet to attack while enduring the pain. Now he doesn't dare to let Ta Shenyao get close. Although his body has been remodeled, Mirai knows that he is still no match for Ta Shenyao if he is more than melee. In the face of the puppet rushing towards him, Dong Shenyao did not dodge this time. The battle had been going on for a while now, and he wanted to end the battle as soon as possible. Crunch! Hearing the sound of gears turning, the puppet opened its mouth, and suddenly a kunai shot out. The face of the attacking Kuwu Dong Shenyao, he threw a punch, only to hear the sound of dang, and there was a burst of gold and iron screeching on Dong Shenyao's fist. How could this be? Is he Iron Man? At this time, not only Mirai was shocked, but also many ninjas watching the battle were stunned. What's going on? Yongtai was most puzzled, because he found that Dong Shenyao's state was somewhat similar to his move. After knocking Kuwu away with a punch, Dong Shenyao punched the puppet's head. The power of this punch was so terrifying that it directly knocked the puppet's head into the air. Then Dong Shenyao did not continue to approach Mirai, but reached out and grabbed one of the puppet's arms. Crack! Just hearing a crisp sound, the puppet's entire arm was twisted off by Dong Shenyao. This, so violent. Many people were stunned. Many people know how strong the puppet technique in Sunagakur village is, especially Konoha, who has been fighting Sunagakur for some time. There are many puppet masters who died in the hands of Konoha, but basically they were all killed by the ninja, but I have never heard of any ninja who first destroyed the puppet master and then killed the puppet master himself. As a puppet master's weapon, the most important point is that it is sturdy, and most of the materials are highly resistant to ninjutsu, so ordinary ninjutsu can't destroy the puppet at all, only by the power of the flesh. It's just that even a Jonin-level physique ninja can hardly cause too much damage to the puppet, let alone dismantle the puppet directly. At this time, Dong Shenyao did it, and this scene is destined to be remembered by many people. However, while Dong Shenyao is famous, he will also be regarded as a thorn in the flesh by Sunagakur village. And when Dong Shenyao violently dismantled the puppet, Mirai did not give up his resistance, and continued to manipulate the puppet to attack Dong Shenyao. It's a pity that the hidden weapon played by the puppet can't hurt Dong Shenyao at all. In fact, this is the reason why it is difficult for others to destroy the puppet. After all, if you want to destroy the puppet at close range, you must face the puppet's hidden weapon, but not everyone is like Dong Shenyao, who can use the body to resist the attack of the hidden weapon. Finally, after half a minute, Mirai's puppet had become a fragment of the ground and could no longer be used. After destroying Mirai's puppet, Dong Shenyao turned his attention to Mirai himself. After looking at Dong Shenyao, Mirai was frightened. A person who can even dismantle puppets, how can he be an opponent? Mirai wanted to admit defeat, but Dong Shenyao didn't give him a chance. Whoosh! Dong Shenyao instantly disappeared in place, and in less than a second, Dong Shenyao came to the 5.5 well in the village. At this time, Mirai was already frightened, and he forgot to attack when he saw Ta Shenyao approaching him. Bang! Ta Shenyao punched Mirai with one punch, and another punch after this one. At this time, Mirai was like a sandbag, and was beaten by Dong Shenyao, unable to fight back at all. In just 1 minute, Dong Shenyao punched hundreds of punches. At this time, all the parts on Mirai's body have fallen off, and he himself has become a blood man, and his body is stained with blood yuhi. Bang! With the last punch, Ta Shenyao hit Mirai in the head. This punch directly broke Mirai's spine, and his head drooped weakly. At this time, Mirai was silent. A total of 7 changes today. Chapter 82 Game 6. After killing Mirai with one punch, Dong Shenyao stood on the field with a little shortness of breath, waiting for Hei's Jiming to announce the result. Without letting Dong Shenyao wait for a long time, he soon saw the leaves in front of Dong Shenyao being blown by a gust of wind, and the next moment, Hei's Jiming's figure appeared. What a quick body twisting technique! Although it wasn't the first time I saw it, Dong Shenyao was still surprised. Especially this time, he was watching from a close distance, but he still couldn't see Hei's Jiming's figure clearly. After appearing, Hei's Jiming glanced at Dong Shenyao with admiration. No matter what, the two of them belong to the same village, and it is of course happy to see such a genius Hei's Jiming in Konoha village. However, as the chief examiner, Hei's Jiming didn't say anything to Ta Shenyao, and shouted directly, "The 4th game is over, the winner is Ta Shenyao from Konoha village." After announcing the results, Hei's Jiming looked at Dong Shenyao and said, "You guys did a good job, keep working hard. Well, you can go to the stage and wait. Senior farewell." Dong Shenyao didn't lose his courtesy, he turned around and left after giving a bow. As for Mirai 15 feet's body, someone will naturally deal with it. When Dong Shenyao returned to the stand, he suddenly noticed a very uncomfortable gaze watching him. Turning his head to look, Dong Shenyao found that he was looking at a boy of 14 or 15 years old. Through the forehead protection on his head, Dong Shenyao found out that this person was a ninja from Sunagakur village. Yao sensed a murderous aura. Seeing Dong Shenyao discovering himself, that Sunagakur not only did not look away, but smiled at Dong Shenyao. It's just that this smile is not meant to be friendly. Dong Shenyao noticed a bloodthirsty taste in his smile. It was a smile that seemed to see prey. Is it because of Mirai? As for the reason why this Sunagakur had murderous intentions towards him, Ta Shenyao could only think of Mirai. After all, Mirai died at his hands. Thinking of this, Dong Shenyao was not afraid, and after smiling at the Sunagaker, Dong Shenyao directly looked away. He has no interest in making eye contact with a man, and now he can't fight in private, so it's better to ignore that person for the time being. As for Dong Shenyao's actions, that Sunagaker was obviously taken aback. When he saw Dong Shenyao turn his head, a trace of anger flashed in his eyes. In his opinion, Dong Shenyao is ignoring him. Very well, I hope you don't meet me for a while. At the same time, Hayes Jiming began to call the fifth game personnel to play. Didn't expect was that one of the people who took part in the fifth exam was Sunagaker, who had murderous intent towards him. The other is a ninja from Konoha village, who is also unknown to Tashinyao. The game will start soon. Konoha ninja off the field of Dongshin Yaofa is not weak, and should already have the level of an elite chunin. However, his opponent, Sunagaker, is stronger, at least in Tashinyao's view. This Sunagaker is stronger than Mirai. Mirai's strength is between an elite chunin and a special jonin, while the Sunagaker is a genuine special jonin level strength, and may even be hidden. From the beginning of the fight, the Konoha ninja was at a disadvantage, and after 2 or 3 minutes of fighting, he was killed by the Sunagaker using futon wind style. Many people who watched such a cruel scene turned pale, and some viewers vomited directly. When Hayes Jiming appeared, his face was also very ugly. After all, the one who died was from Konoha village, but he couldn't say anything. Because it has been said before the game, as long as there is no surrender, then life or death is a matter of life. The fifth battle ended quickly, but it made the atmosphere at the scene a little stagnant. All the contestants in the stands looked at the Sunagaker with a hint of fear in their eyes. In the face of such a powerful and murderous person, no one can be careless. Interesting, it's a good opponent. Yangtai from Iwagakure village was not only not afraid, but showed interest. After returning to the stands, Sunagaker gave Dong Shenyao a provocative look directly. The anger in his heart, Dong Shenyao gave Sunagaker an indifferent look. He knew that the reason why Sunagaker did that just now was probably revenge on him. At this time, Dong Shenyao has decided that if the two really meet, then he must let that Sunagaker die. The sixth game begins. Tashinyao is very concerned about this game, because one of the contestants is his teammate Kimura Fumino. Come on, Wenyi. Dong Shenyao cheered. Well, I will. You and Xiaojun have already won, of course I will not be bad. After saying with a smile, Kimura Fumino walked down the stand. When Tashinyao saw Kimura Fumino's opponent, he was stunned, because his opponent turned out to be Shojong from Iwagakure village, that is, the ninja who had conflict with Toho Shinyao before. Wenyi is in trouble. At this time, Dong Shenyao became a little worried. Don't look at him playing the show just now like a dog, but that's because the strength gap between the two sides is huge, and it's not a real battle. Don't look at being easily defeated by him in the show, but his strength is not weak. Hey, I know you. It's that teammate called Dong Shenyao. Don't worry, I will treat you well. Who made me and your teammates have an extraordinary relationship? Shojong looked at Kimura Fumino with a smirk. Of course, Kimura Fumino knew about the previous conflict between Dong Shenyao and Iwagakure, but he didn't think that the show would release water. On the contrary, I'm afraid Shojong will take the opportunity to retaliate. HMPH, it's just a poor 047 who failed. How come you can't beat Yao, so you want to vent your anger on me? Kimura Fumino said excitedly. Very good, you have successfully angered me. Don't worry, I won't let you die easily. Because sometimes living is more painful than death. Shojong said with a cold expression. That's right, I'll return that sentence to you. Kimura Fumino said indifferently. Soon, the battle began. It was only after Hayes Jiming announced the start of the game that more than a minute had passed, but the two of them remained motionless. Many viewers were very puzzled, but the ninjas present knew that the two were in a demonic illusion contest. Kimura Fumino is a ninja who is good at demonic illusion, so he released demonic illusion in the show as soon as he came up. It can be said that the key to the victory of this battle depends on whether the demonic illusion of Kimura Fumino can be broken in the show. Not good. Dongshin's eyesight is extraordinary, so even though he is far away, he can see clearly. Kimura Fumino is already sweating on his forehead at this time. Apparently he's going all out to release demonic illusion, but even that doesn't beat the show. In the blink of an eye, another 2 minutes passed. Just when some people were waiting impatiently, suddenly Kimura Fumino groaned, followed by a strand of blood from the corner of his mouth. Chapter 83 Tashinyao's Wrath. A few minutes later, Kimura Fumino suddenly groaned, followed by a bloodshot from the corner of his mouth. Seeing this scene, Tashinyao and Tashin Kudo's hearts instantly lifted. Because this is obviously a manifestation of demonic illusion being broken and the caster being backlashed. Demonic illusion can also be said to be a mental attack, and a mental attack is the most dangerous, and one who is accidentally injured may be himself. Therefore, when ninjas use demonic illusions, they often use some small demonic illusions, so that even if they are broken, the backlash is not serious. It's just that this time Kimura Fumino used a large demonic illusion in order to make a quick battle. I saw Kimura Fumino bending slightly, and his body looked very weak. At this time, Kimura Fumino only felt a splitting headache. In the show, although Kimura Fumino's demonic illusion was broken, it was not unscathed. At this time, Shuzong's face was pale, and the corners of his mouth were also bloodshot. He also spent a lot of energy trying to unravel demonic illusion. But because he was the one who cracked demonic illusion, he was in a much better state than the caster Kimura Fumino. Hey, you still lost. Don't worry, I won't let the battle end so quickly. With a wicked smile, Shojong slowly walked towards Kimura Fumino. Wen Yi, admit defeat. Dong Shenyao shouted hurriedly when he saw this. He had already seen that Kimura Fumino was no longer able to fight. And Shojong is obviously not going to let Kimura Fumino go easily, so Kimura Fumino's only option at this time is to admit defeat. After hearing Dong Shenyao's shout, Kimura Fumino felt unwilling for a while. After all, the other two in the same group had already advanced, but he was the only one who lost, which made Kimura Fumino feel better. It's just that Kimura Fumino is not stupid, and it is obviously useless to continue to persevere. Squeezing the pain emanating from his head, Kimura Fumino shouted to the sky, I admit. The word, lose, has not yet been shouted, and Shojong, who has approached Kimura Fumino, punched him directly in the face. The power of Shojong's punch is not very strong, but now Kimura Fumino is weak, so this punch directly knocks him down, and at the same time, the last word is not uttered. I won't let you admit defeat. With a wicked smile, Shojong started punching and kicking Kimura Fumino directly. Damn. Seeing the situation on the field, Dong Shenyao clenched his fists tightly, and a surge of anger ignited in his heart. He regretted it, knowing that he should have directly hit the show when there was a conflict before. Wen Yi, you must be fine. Dong Shenyao prayed secretly in his heart. Funo, get up, Kudo Shun shouted. Seeing his companions being tortured, his mind was also very uncomfortable, and he even wished to bear it all in place of Kimura Fumino. After playing for a while, Shojong might be tired and immediately stopped. Hey, let's play another way. Saying that, he took out kunai from the show, and then shook his hand. Suddenly kunai was shot like a sharp arrow. PFF'd. Blood splattered everywhere, and kunai directly hit Kimura Fumino's thigh, and the blood instantly stained Yuhi's pants. Ah! The pain sounded, and Kimura Fumino hurriedly hugged his thigh. After seeing the tragic situation of Kimura Fumino in Shojong, he laughed very pervert. He was very comfortable seeing Fumino Kimura suffer, and all the humiliation he had obtained from Dong Shenyao was vented out. It's cool, I never found out that torturing people is such a cool thing. Don't worry, it's still a long time, let's play slowly. Said, the show took out a kunai again. At this time, the audience showed their unbearable expressions, not only those from Konoha village, but also people from other countries were frowning. Even killing people is nothing to them, but torturing people is somewhat unacceptable. And those Konoha ninjas widened their eyes one by one, eager to swallow Shojong. If eyes can kill, I'm afraid Shojong has died many times. Whoosh. The kunai in Shojong's hand came out again and shot straight at Kimura Fumino. Many people couldn't bear to close their eyes, they didn't want to see Kimura Fumino being tortured. Only a few seconds passed, and the expected screams did not come out, which made many people a little curious and suddenly opened their eyes to look. I saw that an earth wall was raised in front of Kimura Fumino at some point, and the kunai played by Shojong was nailed to the earth wall at this time. Seeing that Kuwu was blocked, Shojong frowned. What's going on? Who is intervening? Shojong yelled directly. Huh. The breeze blew, and the figure of Dong Shenyao appeared beside Kimura Fumino. How is it? Dong Shenyao asked with concern. Fortunately, I can't die. Fumino Kimura said with a pale face, enduring the pain. What are you doing, Dong Shenyao? Do you want to intervene in this game? At this time, Dong Shenyao was also discovered in the show, which made him a little scared. Shadow. Huh. Chenggu Jiming suddenly appeared. Although he agreed with Dong Shenyao's actions, he was still in the game after all, and he had to stop it as the chief examiner. Dong Shenyao, the game is not over yet, please leave immediately. Master Examiner, now Wenyi has lost his fighting power, so I will admit defeat on his behalf. After all, it belongs to a village. Although Dong Shenyao's practice is a bit bad, it is not a violation. After all, he didn't attack the show, he just conceded defeat in place of Kimura Fumino. Well, then please leave the field quickly. Many thanks to the chief examiner. After thanking him, Dong Shenyao picked up Kimura Fumino and walked towards the stand. HMPH, you are lucky. With a cold snort, Shojong also turned and left. After leaving the arena, Tashinyao hurriedly sent Kimura Fumino to the medical ninja for treatment. Because it was already expected that there would be casualties among ninjas, Konoha deliberately arranged a lot of medical ninjas in Training Ground Zero. Yao, the game is still going on, don't worry about me, go back. After being taken care of by the medical ninja, Kimura Fumino looked at Dong Shenyao and said. Well, I'll go back first. Brother Wenye, don't worry, I will avenge you. Dong Shenyao said firmly. I believe in you. After taking a deep look at Kimura Fumino, Dong Shenyao turned and left. At this time, Dong Shenyao was so angry that he wanted to kill Shojong directly. But the only reason he had left made him give up the seductive idea in his heart. When Dong Shenyao returned to the stands, the seventh game had already begun. This test is also the last of the first round. One of the two sides of the game is a woman from Iwagakure village. The other is a Konoha village ninja. Chapter 84 second round begins. Maybe it was the behavior in the previous show that angered the people in Konoha village, so at the beginning of this game, the ninja from Konoha village broke out with all his strength and directly beat the female Iwagakure without any ability to fight back. The battle was over in just 3 minutes. Although the Konoha ninja didn't torture the female Iwagakure, but the attack was not light, and the female Iwagakure was seriously injured. If she hadn't conceded defeat at the last minute, I'm afraid she would have died on the field. So far, the first round is over. After the first round of competition, Hayes Jiming did not give Dong Shenyao a chance to rest at all, and directly announced the start of the second round of competition. Now let me tell you about the battle list for the second round. Hayes Jiming looked up at everyone in the stands. The list for the second round of the competition is still based on the numbers drawn before, with no. A playing no, B, no, C playing no, D, no, E playing no, F. As for the final G by, they will directly advance to the third round of semifinals. Well, now I announce the start of the second round of the third test of Chunin selection, please A and B players to play. After learning the second round of the battle list, Dong Shenyao's face was particularly solemn, because Kudo Shun was number B, and his opponent was Yang Tai. He had also seen Yang Tai's battle with Ta Shenyao before, and he didn't think Kudo Shun had any hope of winning. The most important thing is that he was afraid that Yang Tai would take the opportunity to retaliate against Kudo Jun, just like the previous match between Kimura Fumino and Shojong. Brother Jun, you. Okay Yao, I know. Before Dong Shenyao could finish his words, Kudo Jun interrupted him. Yao, I know that Yangtai is very strong, but don't worry, if I really can't beat him, I will admit defeat. Hearing Kudo Shun's words, Ta Shenyao was also relieved. It's not terrible to lose, anyway, even if you lose, there is still hope to become Chunin. What really worries Ta Shenyao is that Kudo Shun will not surrender for the sake of face. Brother Jun, then you have to work hard. Well, I will. After speaking, Kudo Jun walked directly off the field. Soon Kudo Shun and Yangtai arrived at the competition venue. You are unlucky when you meet me, your teammates dare to hurt my brother, I will let him know what he regrets. Yangtai said with a wicked smile. HMPH, I think you people in Iwagakure village are cowards. You are not afraid of Yao, so you are ready to take your anger out on me. Kudo Shun said with a feigned contempt. Very well, kid, you succeeded in angering me. As a proud person, Yangtai can't stand the contempt of others. I saw that Yangtai didn't wait for Haze Jiming to announce the start of the game, and directly exerted force with his feet and rushed towards Kudo Jun. Kudo Shun had been on guard for a long time, so he did not panic in the face of Yangtai's surprise attack, and directly took out kunai to resist. The speed of the two of them is very fast, so when they fight, the ordinary audience can't see the figures of the two at all, and can only hear the sound of weapons colliding from time to time on the field and the fleeting figures. Seeing that the two were already fighting, Haze Jiming did not stop it, but left directly. In the stands, Dong Shenyao became more and more nervous. As a special Jonin who also owns Sharingan, Ta Shenyao can see clearly the situation on the field. Although the battle has only just begun, Kudo Shun has already fallen behind. Every time he collided with Kudo Shun, he would be repelled, and even Ta Shenyao found that Kudo Shun's hand holding kunai was already bleeding. Less than half a minute from the start of the battle, a figure suddenly flew out and fell directly to the ground. After the man landed, he rolled a few laps before stopping. Who is it? Because it was too sudden, many people did not recognize who fell for a while. However, they soon discovered through their clothes that it was Konoha ninja Kudo Jun who was beaten down. Many people in Konoha village sighed when they saw this. Boy, it seems that your strength is not as sharp as your mouth. Yangtai appeared more than 10 meters in front of Kudo Jun and teased. Staring at Yangtai tightly, Kudo Jun reluctantly found that he was inferior to Yangtai in both strength and speed. Such an all-round crushing was the deadliest for a physique ninja like him. After all, your strengths have been restrained, so what are you fighting against others? Thinking of Dong Shinyao's worried expression, Kudo Jun slowly raised his arm. I admit defeat. It's just 3 short words, but it seems to have exhausted Kudo Shun's strength. After saying these words, the whole person looks a little depressed. If possible, he would rather choose to die in battle, but he is not living for himself alone, and there are many people who care about him, such as Dong Shenyao, Kimura Fumino, etc. Just for these people who care about him, Kudo Shun can't gamble with his own life. After all, this is just a test, not a battlefield, and it doesn't matter if you lose. Damn. Seeing Kudo Jun admit defeat so easily, Yangtai was so angry that he wanted to torture Kudo Jun. Whoosh. Yangtai was obviously unwilling to let Kudo Shun go like this, so he even started the attack again regardless of his already conceded defeat. At this time, Kudo Jun was obviously not prepared at all. If he was hit by Yangtai this time, Kudo Jun would be seriously injured if he didn't die. Ah! Dong Shenyao immediately exclaimed when he saw this. He did not expect Yangtai to be so despicable. Dong Shenyao had the intention to stop it, but unfortunately the distance was too far, and there was no preparation at all, so he had no choice at all. Bang! I saw a figure flying out, but it wasn't Kudo Jun who flew out, but Yoda. At this time, Yangtai flew backwards at a faster speed than before, and flew straight for dozens of meters before landing. The body smashed to the ground, setting off a puff of smoke. At the same time, Haze Chiaki's figure appeared in front of Kudo Shun, who had obviously blocked Yotai's attack just now. At this time, Changji Yu Jiming's face was gloomy, obviously excited by Yongtai's actions. "What are you doing, Haze Jiming?" At this time, the leading ninja from Iwagakure village also jumped out. After checking Yangtai's situation, he looked at Haze Jiming and asked, "What am I doing?" Yangtai went to attack a man who had already conceded defeat. "This has violated the rules of the game. I didn't kill him because I was merciful," Haze Jiming said with a tough attitude. Iwagakure's leading ninja also knew that they were wrong, and he just found out that Yangtai just suffered some skin trauma, so he did not continue to pursue it. However, for the sake of his face, he still put a cruel word. "Heisuke chiming, I have written down this matter in Iwagakure village." Chapter 85 Short Second Round. The first game of the second round ended so hastily, even counting the time it took for the two of them to appear, the whole process did not exceed 5 minutes. Although the duration of this game exceeded many people's expectations, it also allowed everyone to really know Yangtai. To be able to force Kudo Shun, who performed well in the first round, to admit defeat so quickly shows how strong Yangtai is. For a while, Yangtai became a popular candidate for the Chunin exam champion. Jiming was not at all worried about Iwagakure's threat. He was not frightened when he grew up, and he has played against Iwagakure a lot, but he has never been afraid. After Kudo Shun and the two all left the field, Haze Jiming announced the start of the next game. "Please come on C&D players." Hearing Haze Jiming's words, Dong Shenyao turned around and ended up. On the way, Ta Shenyao happened to meet Kudo Shun. "Brother Jun, are you alright?" "It's okay, but that kid is really strong. Although I don't know how his ninjutsu is, he definitely has reached the special Jonin level in terms of physical skills. If you encounter him, you must be careful," Kudo Jun reminded. "Well, I see. Okay, big brother Jun, go to rest first, I'm going to the game." After speaking, Dong Shenyao continued to walk towards the arena. This match Ta Shenyao seemed to be relatively easy, not because his opponent was weak, but because his opponent in this match was also a ninja from Konoha village. Since he was his own, of course he didn't have to draw his sword as before. Soon the two ninjas, also from Konoha village, met on the field. When Haze Jiming announced the start of the game, the two did not directly start. East Shenyao has seen Senior Jinping. East Shenyao gave a very respectful salute. From the previous game, Dong Shenyao already knew the name of his opponent. "Yao-kun, you're too polite. I can hear your name like thunder, and my instructor has mentioned you a lot, saying that you are the most outstanding genius in our Konoha in recent years." Seeing Dong Shenyao so polite, Jinpei also seemed very friendly. "Where, Senior Jinpei has praised me. What kind of genius am I? Everyone is talking nonsense." Dong Shenyao looked very modest. "Yao, you don't have to be so polite, I have heard some things about you." Seeing that Dong Shenyao and the two were chatting, Haze Jiming couldn't stand it any longer. After all, this is a playing field, not a place for people to chat. "Ta Shenyao, Jinpei, please start the match quickly. If you don't make a move within a minute, you will be disqualified from the match at the same time." Hearing Haze Jiming's words, both Dong Shenyao became serious. "Yo-kun, it seems that we can only talk about it here, but we can continue after the game," Jinbei said with some regret. "No problem, I'll invite Jinbei-senpai to dinner then." "Ha ha ha, that's what you said." Jinbei looked very happy. "Yao-kun is very happy to chat with you, but I won't show mercy for a while, you have to be careful," Jinbei reminded. "Jinbei-senpai, that's what I want to tell you too. It seems that you are very confident, then let me see how Yao-kun's strength is." After that, Jinbei shot directly. Whoosh! I saw Jinbei turned into a black shadow and rushed towards Dong Shenyao. Although Jinbei was very fast, even if Dong Shenyao didn't turn on Sharingan at this time, he could still see Jinbei's movements clearly. This should be regarded as the passive bonus of Sharingan and some abilities given by beauty contact lenses. Bang! Jinbei punched Dong Shenyao, but he was easily blocked by him. Immediately afterwards, Dong Shenyao kicked Jinpei. Jinpei didn't respond slowly, and avoided Dong Shenyao's attack on one side. Immediately, the two started a close fight. Through the confrontation, Dong Shenyao found that Jinpei absolutely reached the special Jonin level in physical skills. Jonin in particular is a very broad concept, and there are many criteria for identifying this level. For example, meeting the Jonin standard in a certain ability can be regarded as a special Jonin. And some people, although their abilities are not up to the Jonin standard, but they are stronger than the elite Chunin, they can also be regarded as special Jonin. Just like the current Jinpei, his physical strength is stronger than that of the elite Chunin, but he cannot reach the Jonin level, so his physical skills can be called a special Jonin level. It is precisely because the standards are different that the gap in the strength of ninjas of the same level is also very large. Some top special Jonins even have the ability to easily kill other special Jonins. Apparently Jinbei is a particularly Jonin level ninja. As for the titles of Genin, Chunin and Jonin assessed in the village, they are only status symbols in the village, and cannot represent strength. There are some ninjas in each village who are strong enough, but because of the insufficient contribution to the village and the number of completed tasks, the title of the ninja is seriously inconsistent with the strength. The topic went a bit far, and continued to talk about the battle between Dong Shenyao and the two. At this time, in terms of physical skills, Dong Shenyao is comparable to Jinpei, and it is also particularly Jonin level. This is one of the achievements of Dong Shenyao's ascetic practice. Since he has broken through to the fifth style of Yijinjing, his physical potential has increased, which has allowed him to break through the bottleneck of the elite Chunin and reach the special Jonin level. However, if you want to truly reach the Jonin level, it will take a while of hard work. In the blink of an eye, Dong Shenyao and the two had fought for more than 20 rounds, but at this time the two were still tied. Seeing that physique alone cannot win, Dong Shenyao is not ready to continue fighting like this. Seizing the opportunity, Ta Shenyao threw a shuriken to force Jinbei back, and his hands started to quickly hand seal. Of course, the hand seal is just a cover-up. With soil, Dong Shenyao does not need a hand seal to use Doden, Earth-style ninjutsu. Doden, Earth-style, Earth Dragon Bullet. As soon as he came up, Ta Shenyao used B-rank ninjutsu. I saw an Earth Dragon rising up beside Dong Shenyao, and earth bombs hit Jinpei one by one. Jinbei had to dodge continuously in the face of the earth bomb attack, but Ta Shenyao took this opportunity to start the hand seal again. Doden, Earth-style, Dusty. Woo! Sand and dust were flying, and all around dozens of meters were covered by sand. His line of sight was blocked, and this time it was very unpleasant, and he was accidentally hit by a soil bomb. Just a soil bomb was not enough to injure Jinpei, but it also hindered his figure, and taking advantage of this opportunity, Dong Shenyao had already appeared behind Jinpei. Jinpei-senpai, you lost. Just after the voice of Dong Shenyao sounded, the surrounding sand and dust slowly disappeared, and the figures of the two were revealed. I saw Dong Shenyao standing behind Jinpei, holding his kunai on Jinpei's neck. Chapter 86. The semifinal begins. Strong collision. The first order plus the first chapter. Feeling the coolness on his neck, Jinbei looked disappointed. He didn't expect that he would lose, and he still lost to someone much younger than himself. However, when he thought that Dong Shenyao was a genius that even his advisor praised, Jinpei's heart was slightly balanced. After all, losing to a genius is not an unacceptable thing. What is genius? Genius is being able to do things that ordinary people cannot. Yo-kun, you are really amazing, please give me more advice in the future. Jinbei said sincerely. I can't talk about advice, but we can learn from each other in the future. Dong Shenyao said after letting go of Kuwu. When Hei's Jiming announced the victory of Dong Shenyao, the two walked towards the stands together. Soon, the third and final game of the second round began. Ta Shenyao also paid special attention to this game, because one of the conveniences of the game was the heavy damage to Kimura Fumino's show. Ta Shenyao very much hopes that Shojong can win, because then he will hope to avenge Kimura Fumino in the game. It's just that he knows that there is little hope, because the opponent in the show is very powerful. This time, it was the Sunagaker who slashed the Konoha ninja on the field against Shojong. Both of them were not pleasing to the eye, so after seeing the two of them on the field, Dong Shenyao couldn't help but whispered, "Fight it. It is better to perish together." Quote. The game will start soon. In the previous show, it was a bit reluctant to win against Kimura Fumino, not to mention the stronger Sunagaker. In less than a minute, Shojong conceded defeat. I also saw what this Sunagaker did in the show before. He didn't want to be scratched with thousands of cuts, so after seeing that he was not an opponent, he directly conceded defeat. Seeing that the battle was over so quickly, the Sunagaker was obviously a little bit resentful. Fortunately, he had seen Yangtai continue to attack after his opponent conceded defeat, so he did not choose to continue to attack. Just like that, the second round ended in less than half an hour from the start. The four who advanced to the third round semifinals were Yoda from Iwagakure Village, Higashi Shinya from Konoha Village, Kan from Sunagaker Village, and Yuki from Konoha Village from the second round by. Heize Chiaki appears again. Everyone, 2 rounds have passed for the third test of Chunin's selection, and there are still 4 players in total. After 2 rounds of elimination, none of the remaining people are elite ninjas. Please use your enthusiasm. Applause to congratulate them. As soon as Chenggu Jiming finished speaking, the audience around him gave extremely warm applause. There was a burst of applause, and it spread throughout the training ground number 0 in an instant. The huge sound echoed over the training ground, and finally spread to nearly half of the Konoha village. The applause stopped after more than 10 minutes. Very well, now I announce that the third round of Chunin's selection test is now open. We have Yoda from Iwagakure Village, and Tashinyao from our Konoha Village. Wow! After Heize Jiming finished saying the names of the 2 people, there were countless cheers and cheers from all around. Come on, Yangtai. East Shinya defeated Iwagakure's bastard. Iwagakure Village must win. Long live Konoha Village. Iwagakure. In short, there were shouting and other things, and the noise was continuous, but this did not affect the 2 contestants. Dong Shenyao had been looking forward to this battle for a long time. Looking at Yangtai standing opposite him, the fighting spirit rose in Dong Shenyao's heart. On the other hand, Yangtai looked at Dong Shenyao with a wicked smile. At this time, he was already thinking about how to torture Dong Shenyao to avenge his younger brother. The game begins. As Heize Jiming's voice came out, Dong Shenyao and the 2 disappeared at the same time. When just hearing a symphony of gold and iron rang out, and the figures of Dong Shenyao and the 2 appeared at the same time. At this time, the 2 people's kunai collided, and a little spark flashed. Shish! The 2 of them turned into 2 shadows and collided continuously on the field, and a sound of ding 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 dong sounded, like hammering iron. Soon the 2 fought over 20 moves. Through temptation, both of them found that they could not defeat each other by physical skills. After fighting each other again, the 2 retreated at the same time. Doden, earth style, rip the earth. Yangtai hand seal, he directly slapped the ground. Boom! A thunderous sound came out, and a huge crack appeared on the ground, and this crack continued to spread towards Dong Shenyao's feet. Doden, earth style, earth shore returns. Dong Shenyao slapped the ground with a palm, and then saw a wall of earth rising rapidly from the ground in front of Dong Shenyao. When the crack invaded the front of the earth wall, it stopped directly. Doden, earth style, Shenglongba. Dong Shenyao did not give Yangtai a chance to continue attacking, and directly condensed a soil dragon. The Tulong flew into the sky and went straight to Yangtai Chong. Seeing the flying earth dragon, many ordinary people's eyes widened. When have they seen such a gorgeous ninjutsu? Senju Tobarama nodded in satisfaction when he saw Tashinyao's hand. I didn't see him wrong. I didn't expect him to grow to this level. Senju Tobarama is very satisfied with the growth rate of Dong Shenyao. I didn't expect him to have this skill. The eyes of many Konoha ninjas looking at Dong Shenyao changed a little. In the past, Dong Shenyao was just a genius and a rising star in their eyes. But now they found that Dong Shenyao had grown up. Facing Tulong, Yang Tai's face was solemn, but what was surprising was that he didn't have a hand seal. Isn't he going to use ninjutsu? Many ninjas were puzzled at this time, wondering how Yang Tai would resist Dong Shenyao's attack. Break it for me. Soon, a shocking scene appeared. I saw Yang Tai waved his fist directly and hit the Tulong, which was more than 10 meters long. Boom! With one punch, the sky shattered, and the smoke rose up, making it impossible to see Yang Tai's situation clearly. And some members of the Hyuga family who were watching the game directly opened Byakugan to watch. Hi! When a member of the Hyuga family saw Yang Tai's situation clearly through Byakugan 0.2, he couldn't help but gasp. I saw that Tulong's dragon head had been smashed by Yang Tai's punch, and then Yang Tai's other hand quickly grew larger, and finally turned into a huge palm of 10 feet, grabbed the Tulong and threw it out. Ordinary people only saw the earth dragon flying out of the smoke, and finally fell on the ground dozens of meters away. Dong Shenyao was also very clear about the situation in the smoke through the earth dragon, which made him confirm his previous guess. Yotai is really not easy, he can control rocks. Dong Shenyao could see clearly that Yang Tai's huge palm was completely condensed by rocks, and the reason why he was able to break the earth dragon with one punch was because he wrapped a thick layer of rock on his fist. It is possible to operate rocks so easily without even needing a hand seal. Could it be the bloodstain limit? Dong Shenyao secretly guessed in his heart. Chapter 87 Shidun vs Soil Fruit. East Shenyao, your strength is beyond my expectations, but that's all for now. Encountering me is the greatest sorrow in your life. Walking out of the smoke, Yang Tai raised his head and said proudly. Yeah, meeting you as an idiot is indeed the greatest sorrow in my life. Dong Shenyao pretended to caress his forehead helplessly. Damn, how dare you scold me, Dong Shenyao, I want you to die without a place to be buried. Yang Tai said viciously. It's hard to say which of us will die first. You want me to die without a place to die. You can't do it yet. Well, then I'll let you see if I can do it. Saying that, Yang Tai instantly turned into a black shadow and headed straight for Dong Shenyao. In the face of Yang Tai's attack, Dong Shenyao stood there calmly, not knowing whether he was frightened or didn't care. After approaching Dong Shenyao, Yang Tai punched Dong Shenyao in the mouth. Seeing that Yang Tai's fist was about to hit him, Dong Shenyao made his move. Dong Shenyao's speed can only be described in one word, and that is, fast. Instant, Dong Shenyao's fist was blocked in front of him. Bang! The next moment, the two of them slammed their fists together, and suddenly there was a burst of sound, as if two rocks collided together. The figure was obscured by the dust, making it impossible for ordinary people to see what was inside. At this time, Yang Tai was a little proud, because in his opinion, Dong Shenyao would never be able to take his punch. I saw that Yang Tai's fist was so big at this time that it could have several circles, and it showed a gray color. If you touched it, you would find that it was a rock at all. This is Yang Tai's trump card. In the first game before, he wrapped his Shuang leg with a rock, so after being kicked by his opponent, he was fine, but his opponent's leg was directly broken. However, Yang Tai soon realized that something was wrong. Crack! He only heard a crisp sound. At first, Yang Tai thought that Dong Shenyao's fist was broken, but he found that Dong Shenyao didn't scream, and Yang Tai noticed that there seemed to be some problem with the rock on his fist. Looking closely, Yang Tai realized that the rock on his fist was actually covered with cracks, and it was not far from being broken. How could this be? Yang Tai couldn't believe what he saw with his eyes. He is very confident in the rock Yang Tai he controls. He has tested it specially. The rock he condenses is not weaker than steel, but at this time, the rock that is comparable to steel is broken. Yang Tai didn't see that. At this time, there was a mocking smile on the corner of Dong Shenyao's mouth. Playing with stones with him is simply an early death. Rocks also belong to the earth element. In the face of Dong Shenyao, who can control the earth element, the rock is not an enemy but a friend to him. If it weren't for the fact that Yang Tai's condensed rocks were mixed with his own chakra, Dong Shenyao could not completely control those rocks. I am afraid that he would have been killed by his own condensed rocks before Yangtai attacked Dong Shenyao. However, even if these rocks cannot be completely controlled, Dong Shenyao can reduce their hardness. At the same time, Dong Shenyao also used elementalization just now, directly turning his entire arm into a solid rock, so this will only be a punch. Sun shatters rock gauntlets. Seeing Yangtai's surprised look, Dong Shenyao was proud, but he didn't forget that he was still in the game, so while Yangtai was distracted, Dong Shenyao made a move. With one kick, Dong Shenyao's rock turn soul kicked Yang Taisheng's mouth directly, causing Yang Tai to fly upside down with a huge force. I saw that Yang Tai was like a meteor, flying straight for dozens of meters before falling to the ground. PFF'd. A mouthful of blood spurted out, and Dong Shenyao's kick was so powerful that it had already injured his internal organs. Dong Shenyao didn't want to let Yang Tai go, so he flew up and chased after Yang Tai. Damn, she done, earth and rock crack kill. Yang Tai didn't care about the pain on his body, so he quickly hand-sealed, and finally slapped the ground with both hands. Just listening to a loud bang, the ground suddenly shook like an earthquake. Immediately afterwards, a sharp stone Jinchuriki column suddenly emerged from the ground. In an instant, Yangtai's body was covered with stone Jinchuriki column within tens of meters, which made Dong Shenyao have to stop temporarily. This is. Seeing this scene, many ninjas stared at it, because it was obviously different from the normal Doden, Earth-style ninjutsu. Could it be that this is the Iwagakure village's blood-stained boundary of Shidun? A message flashed in Senju Tobarama's mind suddenly. As an opponent, Senju Tobarama has also had a detailed understanding of Iwagakure village. He knows that there is a very powerful bloodstain in Iwagakure village, that is Shidun bloodstain. Shidun can be said to be an upgraded version of Doden, Earth-style, which can control rocks by nature, unlike other Doden, Earth-style ninjas, which require training to be able to barely control rocks. At the same time, Shidun blood can also strengthen the rock, making the rock stronger. Boy, today, the uncle will show you how powerful Shidun's blood is. Hearing Yangtai's words, Dong Shenyao frowned. Shidun's blood. Is there this blood in the original book? Forget it, let's deal with him first. Thinking that Dong Shenyao was about to take action, it was just that Yang Tai's speed was faster at this time. Shidun Rock Shuriken Technique. I saw that a large number of shuriken suddenly flew out from the stones around Yang Tai's body, and thousands of shuriken were attacking Dong Shenyao. It's kind of interesting, but I don't know if it's your Shidun or my earth fruit. 480. Thinking of this, Dong Shenyao was not in a hurry to kill Yang Tai. He not only wanted to kill Yang Tai, but also crushed Yang Tai's pride and utterly destroyed Yang Tai's confidence. Doden, Earth-style, Shuanglongba. Boom. The ground trembled, and I saw two rock dragons emerging from the ground. That's right, it's a rock. Different from the earth dragon formed by the soil before, this time Shenlong Dong Shenyao is a earth dragon that uses rocks to condense. Two giant earth dragons stood in front of Dong Shenyao, and when those rock shuriken flew, they all hit the two rock giant dragons. Only a sound of ding 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 dong sounded, but the two earth dragons were not damaged in the slightest. When the rock shuriken was over, the two earth dragons went straight to Yang Taichung under the control of Dong Shenyao. Boom. The two earth dragons were like bulldozers, and the stone Jinchuriki column shattered everywhere they passed. How is it possible? How can you easily manipulate rocks? Yang Tai was going crazy, he couldn't accept everything in front of him at all. I want to kill you, I must kill you. Shidun rock flanking. As Yang Tai pressed his hands on the ground, a huge stone wall suddenly rose on both sides of the ground, and then the stone walls on both sides were pinched towards the earth dragon. The first order plus the second chapter. Today's update is over, tomorrow will be 5. Chapter 88 Finals. Under the control of Yang Tai, I saw two stone walls rising from the ground, and these two stone walls were just on either side of the giant rock dragon. When the two stone walls appeared, they quickly closed in the middle, directly sandwiching the two rock giant dragons in the middle. Crush them for me. At this time, Yangtai was also fighting, and the chakra in his body poured out like crazy without money. Crunch, crunch. Just listening to a tingling sound of friction, the two rock giant dragons were pinched and unable to move. However, because the giant dragon's body was exceptionally strong, the stone walls on both sides could not crush the giant dragon for a while. Seeing that his attack was blocked, Dong Shenyao's expression turned cold. Give it to me. Dong Shenyao didn't sit still, and directly controlled the two giant rock dragons to start merging. I saw two giant rock dragons slowly merged into one, becoming a huge stone dragon. The giant dragon turned over. Dong Shenyao shouted loudly, and then saw the rock giant dragon start to roll violently. Under the struggle of the giant dragon, the stone walls on both sides began to shake. Hold on, Yangtai shouted in his heart. Crack. Suddenly, a crack appeared on the stone wall on one side, and then the crack expanded rapidly. In less than half a minute, the entire stone wall was covered with cracks. Break me. Dong Shenyao shouted in his heart, and controlled the rock giant dragon to struggle more violently. Finally, in less than 5 seconds, the stone wall was completely shattered, and the rock giant dragon broke free and charged towards the sun at an extremely fast speed. The giant rock dragon was less than 10 meters away from Yangtai, so that Yangtai had no chance to dodge at all. Suddenly, the huge body of the rock giant dragon directly bombarded Yangtai. Seeing the giant dragon attacking Yangtai, Dong Shenyao was not too happy, because he had seen that at the last moment, Yangtai wrapped his body with rocks. With the protection of the rock, it is still somewhat difficult to kill Yangtai by the impact of the rock giant dragon alone. But of course Dong Shenyao couldn't let Yangtai go so easily. The rock giant dragon didn't stop after hitting Fei Yangtai, but under the control of Dong Shenyao, it quickly rushed towards the flying Yangtai. I saw that Yangtai's body was still in midair at this time, and the giant dragon was already approaching him. The dragon swings its tail. Dong Shenyao was not polite, and directly controlled the giant dragon with a flick of his tail, and the huge dragon tail slapped Yangtai directly. Dong Shenyao could clearly see that the layer of rock armor on Yangtai's body was completely shattered and turned into countless pieces of rubble. And Yangtai himself was directly drawn from the sky by the giant dragon, and finally fell into a forest. Boom! A puff of dust rose up, obscuring Yangtai's figure. Yotai! Seeing that Yangtai was beaten without the ability to fight back, the people of Iwagakure village suddenly became worried. Especially the ninja who led the team from Iwagakure village this time, clenched their fists. Yangtai is the genius of their Iwagakure village. Although he is not the strongest genius, he is also a future star of Iwagakure. If he dies here, it will also be a blow to the Iwagakure village. Dong Shenyao didn't know if Yangtai was dead, so after seeing him fall into the woods, he hurried over. Soon Dong Shenyao saw Yangtai lying on the ground breathing weakly. How do you feel? Dong Shenyao asked Yangtai, looking down at him. Seeing the slightly mocking smile on Dong Shenyao's face, Yangtai's mood fluctuated violently, and a mouthful of blood spurted out. PFF'd. Don't be so excited, you are about to die now, and if you don't calm down, the immortals can't save you. Dong Shenyao consoled with a kind-hearted look. At this time, Yangtai only felt angry. But unfortunately he was so injured that he couldn't even speak, and could only stare at Dong Shenyao. Yangtai, what would it be like if a Shidun bloodstain owner was killed by Shidun in the end? Dong Shenyao deliberately provoked Yangtai. Woohoo! Yangtai was breathing rapidly. He wanted to scold, but he couldn't. He could only keep his mouth open. And every time he opened his mouth, there would be a lot of blood gushing out. Hey! Seeing how tired you are, I will send you to die with great compassion. Said, Dong Shenyao raised his hand, and the earth elements scattered around him gathered towards his palm, and soon a rock composed of kunai appeared in his hands. Yotai, let me use Shidun to send you the last ride. After speaking, Dong Shenyao waved the rock kuei and stabbed into Yangtai's heart. PFF'd. Although the rock kuei is not very sharp, but under the blessing of Dong Shenyao's power, it still sinks into Yangtai's body very smoothly. Feeling the rapid passing of the body's strength, Yangtai's eyes showed nostalgia for life. He didn't want to die, but unfortunately, his heart was pierced, so obviously he couldn't survive. When Dong Shenyao came out of the woods, the surrounding audience saw a little blood stained on his body. "The examiner, you can announce the result," Dong Shenyao shouted straight up to the sky. "Huh." Haze Jiming quickly appeared on the field, first glanced at Dong Shenyao, and then went into the woods to confirm the result. When Haze Jiming came out, there was still no expression on his face. He just announced the result of Dong Shenyao's victory, and then called the medical ninja to carry the body out of the balcony. When the people of Iwagakure village saw Yangtai's body, they all showed hatred in their eyes. In particular, Yoda's younger brother, Yudo, cried even more. "Brother, I killed you, but don't worry, I will definitely avenge you and kill that Dong Shenyao," Yuren said with a look of hatred, and Shojong on the side also had a look of hatred, and at the same time and some guilt. Without mentioning Iwagakure's funeral, let's move on to the game. When Dong Shenyao came off, the second game of the third round of the semi-finals also began. This game is between Konoha ninjas on one side and Sunagakure village ninjas on the other. Due to the special performance of the Sunagakure village ninja before, the battle began as soon as the two sides came up. Konoha ninja who was tortured and killed by this Sunagakure before and the Konoha ninja who were fighting at this time were the companions of a group. The companion was killed, and of course he wanted revenge. Sunagakure's opponent this time was obviously much stronger than the previous one, and with the fatal attack at the beginning, Sunagakure fell into the bottom for a while. But unfortunately, this kind of crazy attack can't last. After a few minutes, the Konoha ninja's physical strength was too much, and the offensive weakened. Sunagakure seized the opportunity to counterattack, and finally killed the opponent 3 minutes later. But this time he also paid a price. One leg was wounded at the cost of death by the Konoha ninja. The game is over and the final result is the death of the Konoha ninja. Many people in Konoha village were silent about the result. Now I announce that the finals of Chunan's selection test begin. Chapter 89 Demonic Illusion. Just after the semi-finals, Haze Jiming announced the start of the finals without giving Sunagakure a chance to rest. Although Sunagakure expressed dissatisfaction with this, but because there was no rest in the previous game, Sunagakure could only choose to accept it in the end. Above the venue, Dong Shenyao and Sunagakure stood opposite each other. "Although I don't know why you can use Shidun, but it's useless to me. Don't think that if I hurt one leg, you can beat me. I can kill you with just one leg," Sunagakure said confidently. Yotai said the same just now, but he died. "Don't compare Yangtai's trash to me," Sunagakure said disdainfully. Hearing Sunagakure's words, Iwagakure burst into anger. Yangtai's death was enough to make them sad, and now Sunagakure dared to despise Yangtai, and Iwagakure immediately hated Sunagakure. "Well, I hope you don't just talk big like Yangtai," Dong Shenyao sneered. "Is it a big talk that you will know when you die?" After saying that, Sunagakure shot first. Futon, wind style, Daitapa, great breakthrough. Quote. Woo. A gust of wind blew from Sunagakure's mouth and headed straight for Tashinyao. Doden, earth style, earth flow wall. A stone wall rose to block the wind blowing directly. Daitapa, great breakthrough, attack power is not strong, so it didn't break the stone wall, just set off some sand. However, Sunagakure was not prepared to defeat Dong Shenyao with Daitapa, great breakthrough. This ninjutsu was just to contain Dong Shenyao and buy more time for himself. When the Daitapa, great breakthrough, is over, another ninjutsu of Sunagakure has been completed. Futon, wind style, crushing. Woo. I saw a highly compressed wind balloon spewed out of Sunagakure's mouth and hit the stone wall. Boom. In an instant, the stone wall was smashed by the wind ball, and then the wind ball continued to strike forward unabated. But at this time, Dong Shenyao's figure had disappeared behind the stone wall. Huh. Suddenly Tashinya emerged from the ground behind Sunagakure, waving his kunai and stabbed Sunagakur at the back of his heart. Bang! Stabbed Sunagakur, and the next moment, Sunagakur suddenly turned into a piece of wood. Substitute. I knew you would come. At this time, Sunagakur appeared beside Toshinyao with a seal on both hands. Futon, wind style, vacuum sphere. Puff puff. I saw several wind bombs hit Dongshenyao like bullets. PFF'd. Because the speed of the wind bomb was too fast, Dongshenyao could not dodge at all, and Dongshenyao was penetrated by the wind bomb in an instant. But soon, Dongshenyao turned into smoke and dissipated. No, it's shadow clone. When just listening to a symphony of gold and iron, Dongshenyao had appeared beside Sunagakur, and his hand was less than an inch away from Sunagakur's neck, but this inch was like a moat, unable to step over. At the last moment Sunagakur blocked Toshinyao's attack. This Sunagakur is obviously a ninjutsu-type ninja with low physical ability, so although he blocked Toshinyao's attack, he was knocked away by a huge force. Dongshenyao was not ready to let such a good opportunity go easily, and went after him directly. Immediately, the two started a physical duel. Sunagakur was directly pressed and beaten by Dongshenyao, and had almost no ability to counterattack, so he could only passively resist. Good. Seeing that Dongshenyao had the upper hand, many spectators around immediately cheered. After all, this is the home of Konoha, so the majority of the audience are from Konoha village. In the blink of an eye, the two had been fighting for a minute. Sunagakur was originally weaker than Dongshenyao in physical skills, and one of his legs was injured, so he revealed a flaw if he was not careful. Toshinyao seized the opportunity to directly kick Sunagakur's abdomen. Immediately, Sunagakur was kicked and flew out. Dongshenyao did not stop there, but shook his hand and threw Kuwu out of his hand. PFF'd. Blood splattered, and kunai stabbed Sunagakur directly in the shoulder. The pain, Sunagakur took this opportunity to quickly hand seal with both hands. Futon, wind style, 1,000 faces of wind. Quote. Woo. The gust of wind was blowing, and countless wind blades flew out, overwhelming the sky and attacking Dongshenyao. Doden, earth style, earth shield. Dongshenyao quickly used Doden, earth style, to resist. However, the power of these wind blades is not small, and the number is huge, so it didn't take long for the earth shield to be shattered, and then under the gaze of Sunagakur, Dongshenyao's body was cut by countless wind blades, as if being cut by 1,000 knives like a cut. The blood instantly stained Yuhi's body. Ha ha ha, let you fight against me, this is what everyone who fights against me deserves. Sunagakur laughed directly. Ah! Suddenly Sunagakur felt a sharp pain in his heart and couldn't help screaming. When Sunagakur came back to his senses, he found that Dongshenyao appeared in front of him at some point, and at the same time a long knife had pierced his heart. What's the matter? Sunagakur was stunned, because at this time Dongshenyao's whole body was intact, and he didn't look like he was attacked by the wind blade. But at this time Sunagakur had no time to think about these issues, and the rapid passing of vitality made Sunagakur silent soon. Withdrawing the shadow-chopping blade, Dongshenyao sneered at the corner of his mouth. At this time, many people were stunned. They did not expect the game to end so quickly. Before, they only saw that Sunagakur was kicked by Toshinyao, and then he stood up after falling to the ground, and then he was stunned for a moment. But while Sunagakur was in a daze, Dongshenyao had already taken out the shadow-chopping blade and stabbed Sunagakur in the heart. As for Sunagakur's previous scenes of being stabbed by kunai and attacking Dongshenyao with the wind blade, they were all hallucinations. It was Dongshenyao's demonic illusion using Sharingan against Sunagakur. It was because Sunagakur was in demonic illusion that he was stunned, but only Dongshenyao knew about these things, but others didn't know. This time, there is no need for Dongshenyao to shout. With the death of Sunagakur, Hei's Jiming appeared on the field. I announce that the winner of this competition is Dongshenyao, and congratulations to Dongshenyao for becoming the champion of this exam. After speaking, Hei's Jiming looked at Dongshenyao with a smile on his face. Congratulations to you Dongshenyao. Thank you, Chief Examiner. Dong Shenyao was also excited. Although he had already surpassed Chunin in strength, he was still very happy to have won the first place in the selection of Chunin. At the same time, there was warm applause from all around. Obviously all of them were happy for Dong Shenyao. Very good father, Yao he won. The girl who was worried about Dong Shenyao said excitedly. Okay Asuka, sit down and remember that you are a princess and want a lady. The middle-aged man on the side said helplessly. If Dong Shenyao saw the father and daughter at this time, he would have found out that they were the daimyo and Princess Asuka of Tatsunoko. Chapter 90 Chunin. Ah, it's really comfortable to sleep this night. At the beginning of a new day, Dong Shenyao stretched long after waking up. It was already the second day of Chunin's selection for the third exam. Because of the series of battles yesterday, Dong Shenyao fell asleep on the bed as soon as he got home, and slept until dawn. Seeing that it was getting late, Dong Shenyao hurriedly got up and started to wash and eat breakfast. When he left the training ground at number 0 yesterday, he had already received a notice to meet Mr. Hokage at Hokage's office at 10 o'clock the next morning. After a simple breakfast, Dong Shenyao set off. Walking on the street, Dong Shenyao's thoughts couldn't help but return to the scene of yesterday's game. When Hayes Jiming announced that Dong Shenyao had won, it also represented the official end of this Chunin selection test. In this exam, there are many strong people, such as Yongtai from Iwagakure village, Futon Wind Style, Ninja Zun from Sunagakure village, etc., but the most dazzling star is undoubtedly Dong Dong. God is shining. He has overcome all obstacles along the way until now, and has been recognized by many people. Even those powerful Jonin have to face Dong Shenyao, because his strength can already threaten Jonin. Soon Sunagakure's body was carried down. At this time, only Dong Shenyao and Hayes Jiming were left in the arena. However, Hayes Jiming has stepped aside, because he knows that this stage now belongs to Dong Shenyao. Senju Tobarama stood up from his chair again and walked to the front of the stand, looked at Dong Shenyao admiringly and said, "Now I announce that the third test of Chunin's selection is over. First of all, I express to Dong Shenyao, the champion of the third test. Congratulations, and at the same time thank the other ninjas for their wonderful ninja battles, and express condolences to the deceased. In war there will be death, and in death there will be sorrow. So in order for us to have no more sorrow in the future, please boycott the war. Yes, against war. We want peace." As Senju Tobarama's voice fell, many people responded immediately. However, most of the people who shouted were ordinary people and people from Konoha village. As for the ninjas in other villages, they kept silent. To be honest, few people like war, but sometimes they have to start war. The reality is so helpless. Senju Tobarama didn't expect that just a Chunin exam could eliminate the war. He just said this in disguise to remind Iwagakure and Sunagakure villages not to forget the previous agreement. Now that the Chunin exam was won by Konoha village, then Iwagakure village and Sunagakure village must have an unconditional truce. Moreover, passing this Chunin exam also gave Konoha a chance to show his strength, and at the same time told other shinobi villages that although we Konoha like peace, they are not easy to mess with. After all, the battle has been going on for a few years. Although Konoha village has a profound background, if time continues, Konoha village will not be able to bear it. After all, Konoha has only been established for more than 10 years. The ninjas of the villages also heard the deep meaning of Senju Tobarama's words, but this matter is not up to them, and the final result needs to be decided by the shadows of each village. Senju Tobarama didn't say much, and finally announced that Chunin's selection test was over, and left with someone. Chunin's selection test that lasted for nearly a month is completely over, and Dong Shenyao also returned to the stands to find Shun Kudo. Congratulations, Yao. Kudo-jun sincerely felt happy for Tashin Yao. Hee. Dong Shenyao didn't know what to say, and he could only smirk in the end. By the way, Brother Jun, let's go see Brother Wenye together. Well, it's okay, just to inform him of your victory. It's just a pity that I didn't teach that Iwagakure named Shojong a lesson. Kudo-shun was very angry when he thought of the scene of Kimura Fumino being abused by Shojong. It's a pity that the show was eliminated earlier, and I didn't meet Dong Shenyao. Don't worry, Brother Jun, we will have a chance for revenge in the future. Dongshin dazzled with murderous intent. Regardless of whether the war between Konoha and Iwagakure will continue after this incident is over, Tashinyao knows that there will still be a war between the two villages in the future, and if so, he will naturally have no shortage of opportunities for revenge. When Dongshinyao and the two found Kimura Fumino, they found that Uehara-kei was also here. Yao, congratulations to you. Seeing the arrival of Dongshinyao, Uehara-kei and Kimura Fumino congratulated at the same time. Looks like Mr. Chi has already told you. Tashinyao looked at Kimura Fumino after saying hello to Uehara-chi. Yeah, just after Mr. Chi came, he told me about the final result of the competition. Yao, you are really amazing. It seems that you are going to become Chunin. It's hard to say. After all, didn't the chief examiner say it before? Even if you win the game in the end, you may not become a Chunin. Even if you lose, you may become a Chunin. Everything depends on your performance. Dongshin Yaoyao shaking his head. He is really not sure. After all, if you want to get the title of Chunin, you need not only strength, but also a certain brain, because Chunin is already a team leader, and sometimes you need Chunin to lead the team to perform tasks. If you don't have a certain amount of wisdom, it's easy to kill the whole team. Yo, you are right, but you will indeed become Chunin. At this time, Kei Uehara interjected. Oh, Teacher Chi, do you know? Dong Shenyao was a little surprised. Well, Lord Hokage has already looked for me. Let me inform you to go to the Hokage building at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning to find him, and he will officially grant you the title of Chunin. Yeah, that's great. Even a mature Rudong Shenyao couldn't help cheering after hearing the news. After all, he paid a lot in this exam, and now that it finally paid off, Dong Shenyao was of course happy. Congratulations, Yao, are you going to treat yourself as Chunin? Kudo-jun teased. Ha ha ha, okay, tomorrow I will invite you to dinner after I officially become Chunin. Dong Shenyao agreed directly in excitement. Ah, I don't seem to be able to go to 0.8 tomorrow. Kimura Fumino said with some disappointment. At this time, Dong Shenyao remembered that Kimura Fumino was still injured. Okay, let's say no, wait until Brother Wenya's injury is healed. It just happens to be a celebration of Brother Wenya's recovery from his injury. Dong Shenyao directly changed the time. Toshi Kudo and Kei Uehara did not object to this either. Since Tashinyao and the others had just experienced the war, they were very tired, so they didn't talk much. After sending Kimura Fumino to the Konoha hospital, they separated. After returning home, although it was still early, Dong Shenyao went straight to the bed and started to sleep. When Dong Shenyao came back to his senses, he found that he had come under the Hokage building. Looking at the majestic Hokage building, Dong Shenyao was filled with pride. One day there will be my place here too. Chapter 91 Little Tsunade's Challenge. When Tashinyao saw Senju Tobarama, his mind was calm. Grandpa Hokage, here I come. Well, you did a good job in the game yesterday, showing the momentum of my Konoha village. I just want to let the people of Iwagakure village and Sunagakure village know that not only the current Konoha village is better than them, even the next generation, I Konoha more than them. Senju Tobarama said happily. Obviously, he was very satisfied with Tashinyao's sweeping battle yesterday, so the smile on Senju Tobarama's face has not faded since seeing Tashinyao. Hokage in the future, the 3 generations of Hokage in the old age may even sacrifice some people's lives for peace. But Senju Tobarama is different. Although he also longs for peace, he will not compromise, because Senju Tobarama knows that peace is not achieved by compromise, but by strength. It can be said that Senju Tobarama is the combination of the next 3 generations of Hokage and Danzo, that is, hope for peace, but also has a tough side. So Senju Tobarama didn't care about Tashinyao killing the ninjas in Iwagakure village and Sunagakure village yesterday. Although Konoha wants to ask for peace now, he will not bow his head to the enemy. Grandpa Hokage, you've won the prize, I'll be embarrassed to praise me like that. Dong Shenyao said shyly. Ha ha ha, okay, I won't say it anymore. Yao, here is Chunan's clothes, you can put them on. Senju Tobarama pointed at the table. Tobarama's finger, Tashinyao saw a set of clothes on the table, which was the uniform of Chunin of Konoha village. Both Chunin and Jonin in Konoha village have uniforms. The styles of the two are similar. The only difference is the color. Chunin's uniform is lighter in color. Although Tashinya doesn't like the look of the ninja uniform, he is very happy to get this uniform, because it means that he will officially become a Chunin from today. Yo, put it on and let me see. Senju Tobarama urged. The green vest representing Chunin's identity and put it on. Well, it looks good. Senju Tobarama commented directly after Dong Shenyao was dressed. But Dong Shenyao didn't care. In his opinion, he looked handsome and looked good in everything. In fact, Dong Shenyao is also very grateful to his parents in this life. He has inherited good genes. Among men, Dong Shenyao is very handsome. When he was studying at the ninja school, many little girls gave him gifts. As for the love letter, not only because of his strength, but also because he is the #1 handsome guy in the class. Yao. While Tashinyao was finishing his clothes, Senju Tobarama called him very seriously. What's wrong with Grandpa Hokage? Dong Shenyao raised his head and asked in confusion. Yao, you became Chunin, not only means the village's recognition of your strength, but also means that your responsibilities are more important from today. Senju Tobarama's tone was very solemn at this time. He said this not to scare Dong Shenyao, but to scare Dong Shenyao. It is hoped that the pressure will bring more power to Dong Shenyao. Don't worry, Grandpa Hokage, I know. Dong Shenyao also became serious at this time. Of course, Dong Shenyao knew that Chunin was equivalent to the team leader. In the future, I am afraid that he would need to lead the team to perform some tasks alone. At that time, there would be no elite Jonin, Uehara Kai, as a backer, and he would need to bear all the pressure. By the way, Yao, I saw you use Shidun in the game before, how did you learn this? Senju Tobarama suddenly asked. Tashinya was not surprised by Senju Tobarama's question. In fact, he was ready to accept Senju Tobarama's question after showing the ability to manipulate rocks, so the answer was thought out in advance. Grandpa Hokage, actually I. Bang. Finish his words, suddenly the door of Hokage's office was kicked open. Dong Shenyao didn't have to look back to know who was coming, and who dared to do so. There was only one person in the entire Konoha village, and that was the little princess of Konoha village, Senju Tsunade. Sure enough, there was a sound of footsteps, and then a somewhat immature voice came. Second grandfather, where is Dong Shenyao? I want to challenge him. Ah, what's going on? Dong Shenyao was a little stunned. He didn't remember any interactions he had with Tsunade. You're here, little Tsunade. This is Tashinyao, but why are you challenging him? Senju Tobarama sold Tashinyao without hesitation. You are Dong Shenyao. It's not too bad, you just look a little handsome. Senju Tsunade said after looking at Dong Shenyao for a while. Well, Tsunadeheim, why are you challenging me? Looking at Tsunade, who was still a child, Tashinyao asked with a headache. If Tsunade was bigger, Dong Shenyao would be very willing to have some interactions with her. After all, Tsunade will be a buster in the future, and she is also very beautiful. It is a good choice as a wife. But now Tsunade is still too young. Dong Shenyao is embarrassed to start with such a small child. I heard them say that you are the first of the younger generation in Konoha village, so I will challenge you to prove that I am the strongest. Tsunade said very seriously. Okay then, I'll admit defeat, that's all right. Dong Shenyao has no interest in messing around with Tsunade now. That's right, Tsunade's approach is nonsense in Tashinyao's view. Tsunade is indeed strong in the future. As one of the legendary Sannin, he is definitely a real cage-level powerhouse. But now, even though she is the granddaughter of 203 Hokage and a member of the Senju clan, she is still too young after all. She is only 4 or 5 years old, so it is not bad to have genin level strength. But a genin, Dong Shenyao really doesn't care about it now. No, I don't need you to let me, I want to beat you upright. Tsunade said stubbornly. Okay, don't make trouble, little Tsunade, now you are not Yao's opponent. Senju Tobarama also had a headache. He loved this granddaughter very much, and was reluctant to beat him or scold him. Tsunade obviously didn't give Senju Tobarama the face of Hokage, and regardless of whether Tobarama agreed or not, he jumped up and punched Tobarama directly. Bang! Although Tsunade's action was very sudden, he was still blocked by Tashinyao. Just feeling the strength of Tsunade's fist, Tashinyao was a little surprised. As expected of someone who can carry forward chakra-enhanced strength, I didn't expect to be so powerful at such a young age. Seeing that his punch was blocked, Tsunade wasn't ready to let Dongshenyao go just like that. I saw that she flew directly and kicked Dongsheng's chest. Seeing this, Dongshenyao quickly grabbed Tsunade's ankle with his other hand. All of a sudden, Tsunade was picked up by Tashinyao. Let me go. Tsunade struggled violently. Chapter 92 The first mission after becoming Chunin. Little Tsunade struggled fiercely after being picked up by Dongshenyao's arms and legs, but her strength was not small compared to her peers, but for Dongshenyao, whose strength was close to Jonin's, it was still a bit weak. Not enough to see. Little sister, aren't you trying to challenge me, but this is not acceptable. Dongshenyao teased while looking at Tsunade whose body was hanging in the air. HMPH, if you have the ability, you can put me down and we'll fight again, and I'm not a little sister, I have a name. Tsunade glared at Dongshenyao and said. Obvious that Tsunade was going to look fierce, but with those wide open eyes and her small face that was still a little fat, Tsunade looked very cute at this time. Wow, it's still cute. Said, after putting Tsunade down, Dongshenyao directly stretched out his hand and gently pinched Tsunade's cheek. Well, it feels good too. Bastard, I'm going to kill you. Tsunade felt like she was going crazy when she was treated like this. Whoosh. Tsunade punched Tashinyao in the nose. Bang. Don't know why Dongshenyao didn't dodge this time. Tsunade punched Dongshenyao directly in the nose. The huge force made Dongshenyao's face rise directly, and blood was spilled even more. Apparently his nose was bleeding from Tsunade. But Tsunade wasn't going to let the person who dared to offend him easily, and Tsunade jumped up and kicked Dongshenyao's chest directly. Bang! This stance was so heavy that Dongshenyao fell to the ground without the slightest resistance. Immediately after that, Tsunade sat on Dongshenyao's chest. He opened his bows from left to right with both hands, hitting Dongshenyao's face continuously. It didn't take long before Dongshenyao's face was swollen like a pig's head. And just when Tsunade was playing hard, Senju Tobarama's voice suddenly came, "Okay Tsunade." Senju Tobarama's voice was not loud, but it came directly into Tsunade's heart, calming her down immediately. But then Tsunade found out that Tashinyao, who had been pressed down by him, had disappeared. Hidden looking around, he still didn't see Dongshenyao's figure. In desperation, Tsunade could only look at Senju Tobarama and asked, "Second grandpa, where are the others?" "Tsunade, that kid Dongshenyao has already left, you just got hit with demonic illusion." Senju Tobarama said helplessly. What? Tsunade's eyes widened directly. She didn't expect that she was playing so much just now. In fact, it was because she was in a fantasy world, and everything was arranged by Dongshenyao. Thinking of this, Tsunade's face instantly turned Yuhi, not shy, but angry. "East Shenyao, I'm not finished with you." Tsunade's voice came directly from the Hokage office, and even Tashinyao, who had just walked out of the Hokage building, heard it. I didn't expect Tsunade to be so hot at such a young age, but it's fun to conquer such a fierce horse. Thinking of this, the corner of Dongshenyao's mouth evoked an expectant smile. At this time, Senju Tobarama was thinking about Tashinyao. First of all, Senju Tobarama was a little surprised by Dong Shenyao's demonic illusion strength. He hadn't seen Dong Shenyao's hand seal just now, and Tsunade had already one demonic illusion. Although the difference in strength between the two is not small, it is good to be able to be so silent. Tsunade released demonic illusion. In Senju Tobarama's view, Dong Shenyao's demonic illusion is at least at the level of special Jonin. Taijutsu, ninjutsu, demonic illusion are all in the special Jonin, and the overall strength is probably no less than the general Jonin. If his chakra quality and quantity can also reach the Jonin level, then Dong Shenyao's strength will suddenly become the top powerhouse in Jonin. Unexpectedly, this kid has grown so much in less than half a year. It seems that I really underestimate him, but in this case, it can be appropriate to increase some pressure on him. Senju Tobarama thought to himself. At this time, Senju Tobarama really discovered the unfathomable potential of Dong Shenyao, especially when Tsunade was immersed in demonic illusion. Senju Tobarama had taken the opportunity to ask Shidun again. Shidun, I don't know what's going on. I remember that day I passed out after knowing that my parents died on the battlefield. When I woke up, I found that I could sense the energy of the earth element. After the operation, I found that I was very skilled and easy to control Doden, earth style, so I was able to develop Doden, earth style, ninjutsu on my own. Later, as I continued to study, I found that gradually I could control the rock, and I don't know why. Dong Shenyao said with a confused look. In fact, Dong Shenyao is not lying. After all, the ability of the soil fruit was indeed obtained after his parents died. So, it seems that you have awakened some kind of bloodstain boundary. Senju Tobarama guessed. Really, I also have a blood limit. Dong Shenyao was a little surprised. I don't know about this either. Although I don't remember any bloodstains in your Eastern god family, it is said that your family has the blood of the gods in your body. Maybe the blood of the gods in your body has awakened. Senju Tobarama explained. Dong Shenyao was a little surprised. He didn't expect Senju Tobarama to think of the blood of the gods. However, Dong Shenyao was only happy about this, because it also reminded him that any unthinkable things he did in the future could be attributed to the blood of the gods. Of course, the possession of Sharingan cannot be revealed for a short time, at least until he has cage-level strength and Senju Tobarama dies, he will not be exposed. Okay Yao, let's go first. Tsunade will wake up and ask you for trouble after a while. By the way, this task is handed over to you. With that, Senju Tobarama took a task scroll and handed it to Dong Shenyao. After taking the scroll, Dong Shenyao asked, Grandpa Hokage, should I do this alone? Yes, this is a test for you after you become a Chunin. If you can complete it independently, then you are officially qualified. If you can't complete it, then I am afraid you will continue to be a genin. Senju Tobarama said very seriously. Don't worry, Grandpa Hokage, I will definitely complete the task. After speaking, Dong Shenyao took the scroll and left with confidence. Knowing that Ta Shenyao had left, Senju Tobarama woke Tsunade. Walking on the street, Dong Shenyao slowly opened the quest scroll and looked at it. C word on the scroll. Obviously this is a C-level quest, which means that this quest will not involve ninjas. At first, Dong Shenyao didn't care, but when he read the mission introduction, he couldn't help but be stunned. Update ends today. After that, it will be guaranteed 3 to 4 times a day. Chapter 93 Goodbye Asuka. In the beginning, Dong Shenyao didn't take this C-level mission to heart. After all, he wouldn't encounter ninjas. If it was just a bandit, it would not be too easy to deal with Dong Shenyao's current strength. It's just that he couldn't help but be taken aback after reading the content of the task. It wasn't because there was any problem with the task or because it was difficult, but the person who issued the task turned out to be an acquaintance of Dong Shenyao. How did they come to Konoha? Dong Shenyao was a little curious. Forget it, it's just a mission. Shaking his head, Dong Shenyao stopped thinking about it. The start time of the mission is in the afternoon, and there is still some time left, so Dong Shenyao is not in a hurry. First, I went to the hospital to visit Kimura Fumino. When Tashinyao came to the hospital, he found that Kudo-shun was also there. Wow, Yao looks so handsome in the Chunin vest. Kudo-shun shouted exaggeratedly, with a look of envy in his eyes that couldn't be concealed. Why, don't I look handsome? Dong Shenyao deliberately said with a straight face. No, Yao, you are always handsome, but today you are very handsome. Kudo-jun quickly explained. It's almost the same, Dong Shenyao said with great satisfaction. Hey, I don't know when we will be able to put on this outfit. Kimura Fumino said expectantly. Come on, I heard that in a few months, the Chunin exam held by our Konoha village will start. With your strength, you will be able to pass by then. Dong Shenyao comforted. Well, next time we will definitely become Chunin. Kudo-shun said firmly at the same time. Because there were still tasks to do in the afternoon, Dong Shenyao didn't stay too long. After chatting with Kudo-shun for a while, he said goodbye and left. Of course, Dong Shenyao didn't hide the task, he said it roughly. Yao, you are so amazing, you can actually do the task alone now. Hey, I don't know when we will be able to reach this level. Kimura Fumino said enviously. Okay, there will be opportunities in the future. By the way, if you see Teacher Chi, remember to tell him, I'll go first. After speaking, Dong Shenyao left the ward directly. After returning home, Dong Shenyao began to prepare what he needed for the mission. This mission requires leaving the village, so although it is only a C-level mission, Dong Shenyao still prepared some kunai, shuriken and other items. In a blink of an eye, the time was approaching noon, and because there was still a task, Dong Shenyao ate lunch early. When the time is up, we head straight to the gate of Konoha village. According to the records in the task book, he needs to meet the person who issued the task here. This time, Dong Shenyao performed an escort mission, and the escort, Dong Shenyao, was very familiar with him. It was the name of Chen Jiguo and his daughter, Princess Asuka. Dong Shenyao came to the gate and waited for a while, when he saw a man and a woman walking over. The man is a middle-aged man, and the woman is only 8 or 9 years old. Just when Dong Shenyao saw the father and daughter, they also saw Dong Shenyao. Hey, Yao-kun, the girl directly shook her arms, looking very excited. Dong Shenyao didn't speak, just smiled and nodded to the girl. This father and daughter are exactly the goals of his mission this time, the name of Chen Jiguo and Princess Asuka. Because she was excited when she saw Tashinyao, Asuka trotted directly to the front of Tashinyao. Hello Yao-kun, we meet again. Asuka greeted Dong Shenyao with a bright smile on her face. Hello Asuka. Dong Shenyao seemed calmer. Although Asuka was a princess, Dong Shenyao had no fear. Seeing Tashinyao's general attitude, Asuka was a little disappointed. I won't give up. Asuka encouraged herself in her heart. Ever since she was rescued by Dong Shenyao, she had a good impression of Dong Shenyao, and the separation during this period of time only aggravated the longing in Asuka's heart. It was also after Tashinyao left that Asuka suddenly became interested in Konoha and often inquired about various news about Konoha. And when she learned that Konoha would hold the Chunin selection exam, she thought that Dong Shenyao might also take part, so she begged her father to come to Konoha to watch the ceremony. Out of love for his daughter, Daimyo Tatsunokuni could only bring Asuka to Konoha to watch the game in person. Now that the exam is over, they are going back. Originally, they all came with escorts, but before leaving, Asuka suddenly said that she would hire Konoha ninjas to escort them, and even pointed out that Tashinyao should protect them. The name of Chen Jiguo also saw his daughter's thoughts at this time. In order to fulfill his daughter, he first sent his subordinates away, and then found Senju Tobarama and issued an escort task, and pointed out that Dong Shenyao was to perform the task. It's just that these Senju Tobarama didn't tell Tashinyao, so he didn't know. Yo-kun, we have met. At this time, the daimyo also came over. Hello Mr. Daimyo, I wonder if we can go now. Well, okay, let's go. After speaking, Daming took the lead and walked out of the village, and seeing Dong Shenyao silently followed. Walking on the road, Asuka chatted around Tashinyao, constantly talking about her life during this period of time. Yo-kun, I watched your game yesterday, you are amazing. Asuka said with a look of admiration. Oh, you guys came to Konoha to watch Chunin exams. Well, I begged my father to bring me when I knew the Konoha Chunin selection had started. Speaking of this, Asuka gave Tashinyao a shy look. Tashinyao is not stupid, although he has never experienced it, so he is a little dull about feelings, but he can also see that Asuka has special feelings for himself. However, Dong Shenyao doesn't have the energy to manage these things now, especially as Asuka is still from the kingdom of Chen, and the two of them don't have the chance to meet each other at ordinary times, so how can they develop more deeply? Asuka didn't know what Tashinyao was thinking, she was still talking about yesterday's events. Yao, do you know, I was really worried about you when I saw you participating in the competition yesterday. Asuka looked at Dong Shenyao deeply. By the way, Yao, are you injured? Thank you for your concern, I'm fine. Dong Shenyao replied politely. Seeing that Dong Shenyao's attitude was a little cold, Asuka couldn't help but pouted slightly. Although Chen Zhiguo was at the forefront, he had been paying attention to Dong Shenyao and the two of them. Hearing the conversation between the two, Chen Zhiguo sighed, he knew that his daughter's relationship might not have any results. After all, the two sides are people from two worlds, and it will be difficult to have an intersection in the future. Soon the three of them walked out of the Konoha village, and at this time Tashinyao also became serious. 4 more today. Chapter 94, I want to practice. Within 10 miles from Konoha village is the guard range of Konoha ninjas. There are many ninjas hiding in the dark within this range, so it is relatively safe to say that 10 miles is relatively safe, so Tashinyao has time to listen to Asuka talking there. At this time, the three had already stepped out of the guard range of the Konoha ninja, and Dong Shenyao was also vigilant. After all, he is now in the stage of execution, and he still needs to have some vigilance. Shadow Clone. Bang. Because this mission only has one ninja, Tashinyao, so he can only use his Shadow Clone as his helper. No need to speak, Shadow Clone understood his mission very well. After looking at the main body, Shadow Clone disappeared directly into the woods beside the road. This is the country of fire, the country with the best environment in the ninja world, with plenty of rain, and most of the country is covered with forests. After putting Shadow Clone in the dark realm, Dong Shenyao led the way, always on alert for possible attacks around him. Yao, you don't have to be so nervous. Our country of Chen is only a small country, and there are no enemies. No one will attack us. Asuka said this, of course, so that Dong Shenyao could continue to chat with her. However, Dong Shenyao did not listen to Asuka's words. Dong Shenyao knew that due to the frequent wars in recent years, even the rich country of fire was affected. Many people were forced to make a living and became bandits. Shenyao did not dare to relax his vigilance. Seeing that Tashinyao didn't respond, Asuka directly pouted to express her dissatisfaction. At this time, she regretted a little, and regretted that she just let Dong Shenyao perform this task alone. Before, it was to prevent outsiders from disturbing her and Dong Shenyao's relationship, so Dong Shenyao was named alone to perform the task, but he never thought that because there was no one else to share the burden for Dong Shenyao would have no time to accompany her at all. Okay Asuka, Yo-kun is also for our sake. Chen Zhiguo Daimyo comforted. Konoha village is not far from the kingdom of Tatsuya. If Tashinyao is alone, one day will be enough to reach the kingdom of Tatsuya. It's a pity that he now has 2 oil bottles by his side, and it was already afternoon when he left Konoha village, so they didn't walk less than a third of the way until it was dark. Seeing that the sky was getting dark, Dong Shenyao could only stop. After all, night is the time when most beasts come out to hunt for food, and the dark road is not easy to walk. Mr. Daimyo, it looks like we can only sleep in the wild tonight. No problem. The name of Chen Zhiguo didn't care. Don't look at me as a daimyo. In fact, when I was young, I also liked to take risks. It wasn't until my father died when I was in my 20s that I had to inherit the position of the daimyo, and I never had the opportunity to travel around. At this point, Chen Zhiguo's eyes couldn't help showing a look of reminiscence. I didn't expect you, father, to do these things when you were young. When I grow up, I will be like your father, and go around everywhere. Asuka said with a look of anticipation. Asuka, you're different from me. I'm a man, so it's okay to walk around. But if you're a girl, it's too dangerous for you to wander outside. Hearing her father's words, Asuka couldn't help showing disappointment on her face. But soon she saw Tashinyao, who was looking for a camping spot in front of her. Yo-kun, Asuka shouted. What's the matter? Dong Shinyao asked without turning his head. Yo-kun, when I grow up, I want to travel all over the ninja world, can you accompany me? Asuka asked with a yuhi face, which was already a disguised confession. Are children so bold now? Dong Shinyao had black lines all over his head. Deliberately not answering, he just turned his head to look at the hopeful look on Asuka's face. Tashinyao could only answer. Princess Asuka, I am a ninja and I need to do a mission, so I really don't have time to accompany you. Really? Asuka was very depressed. Although she was mentally prepared, Asuka was still a little unacceptable when it really happened. Asuka, you should forget him. Chen Jiguo patted his daughter's shoulder and said. Father, don't you support me anymore? Asuka looked at her father blankly and asked. Asuka, is not because her father doesn't support you, it's because you and him will have no results, because you are not from the same world at all. Even if you forcefully walk together, you will eventually be separated. Not from the same world. Asuka was stunned. She had never thought about this before, but she only thought that she liked Dong Shenyao. As long as Dong Shenyao also liked her, then the two of them could be together. However, when the name of Chen Jiguo woke her up, Asuka suddenly thought that Dong Shenyao was a ninja, but she was the princess of Chen Jiguo. In the future, Tashinyao is likely to become the head of Konoha village, Jinchuriki column, and Asuka Miku will become the daimyo of Tatsunokuni. In the future, the two have their own things to do, and each has a different mission, which is doomed to be difficult for the two of them to be together. Tears fell from the corners of Asuka's eyes at some point. She didn't expect that her first relationship would end before it even started. Okay, let's spend the night here tonight. Tashinyao's voice suddenly woke up Asuka. Hey, Asuka, what's wrong with you? Why are you crying? Dong Shenyao asked with a look of surprise. Although he couldn't accept Asuka's love, he still had a good impression of this little girl, Tashinyao. Seeing Asuka, who was just fine, just now burst into tears, Tashinyao was a little overwhelmed. Yo-kun, I'm fine. Asuka shook her head. Seeing Asuka, he was reluctant to speak, and Dong Shenyao didn't ask any further. Well, it's good here, let's rest here tonight. Dong Shenyao chose a place with a flat terrain, and the ventilation effect was good, and the sound of water flow could be heard vaguely. Obviously, there was a water source not far from here. Neither of them objected to Dong Shenyao's choice of the name of Chen Jiguo. Soon Dong Shenyao's shadow clone got some dry wood and lit a bonfire. The firelight dispelled the darkness and brought warmth, but it couldn't warm Asuka's chilled heart. Am I really going to give up? Asuka was very unwilling. What if we could be people of the same world? Suddenly Asuka had such an idea. Yes, what if I could be a ninja too? Thinking of this, Asuka couldn't hold back her excitement. She quickly looked at Dong Shenyao and asked, Yao-kun, can you teach me to practice cultivation? Dong Shenyao was taken aback. Yes, I want to be a ninja, Asuka said firmly. This is the second watch, the remaining two watch today will be released at 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening. Chapter 95 Attacked. Seeing Asuka telling herself that she wanted to train to become a ninja, Tashinyao couldn't help but be taken aback. He didn't expect Asuka to make such a request. Asuka, why do you want to become a ninja? You know, ninja training is not only hard, but ninja is a very dangerous profession. I know, but I'm not afraid. I want to become a ninja, Asuka said firmly. Yo, I will definitely become a ninja, because only in this way can I catch up in your footsteps, Asuka thought to herself. Dong Shenyao didn't know what Asuka was thinking. After hearing Asuka's request, Dong Shenyao was a little embarrassed. It wasn't very difficult to teach Asuka to practice, but Asuka's father was here. Daimyo's decision. Therefore, Dong Shenyao looked directly at the name of Chen Jiguo. The name of Chen Jiguo knew that his daughter liked Dong Shenyao, so he also understood the reason for her daughter's cultivation, so he did not want to stop it, and if Asuka could really become a ninja, it would also be good for Chen Jiguo. Yao, if possible, please teach Asuka. Chen Jiguo Daimyo said sincerely. Well, I can teach you Asuka, but I'm a ninja and my time is limited, so I will teach you how to refine chakra on the way to the country of Chen. I have to leave, the rest is up to you. Well, I know, Yo-kun, then please. Asuka said happily. Well, it's still early, I'll start teaching you the refining of chakra now. Hearing Ta Shenyao's words, Asuka immediately regained her spirits, pricked up her ears and began to listen carefully. Chakra is the foundation of ninjas, because only with chakra can you use various skills. Chakra is a kind of energy formed by the fusion of ninja flesh, physical strength and spiritual strength in a certain proportion. Dong Shenyao began seriously explain some basics about chakra. Asuka listened very carefully and was very devoted, so she didn't notice the passage of time at all. It was not until late at night that Asuka had to rest under the coercion of Dong Shenyao. After all, there is still a long way to go tomorrow. If you don't rest well, you will have no energy tomorrow. The next morning, after taking a shower and eating dry food, the three of them went straight to the road. On the way, Ta Shenyaao deliberately set out a shadow clone to continue teaching Asuka about chakra refining, while Ta Shenyaao himself was still in charge of vigilance. In a blink of an eye, it was afternoon. At this time, the three of them were already close to the border of the Kingdom of Fire. According to Dong Shenyao's calculations, they could enter the territory of the Kingdom of Chen before dark, and they could reach the capital of the Kingdom of Chen after a short walk tomorrow. Just when he was about to reach the boundary line, Dong Shenyao suddenly stopped. Doden, Earth-style, Earth-flow wall. I saw that Dong Shenyao suddenly slapped the ground with both hands, and the next moment an earth wall rose up. At this moment, Asuka and the two were stunned. They didn't know why Ta Shenyaao suddenly used ninjutsu. At this time, Shadow Clone, who had explained chakra to Asuka before, also became alert and took out the kunai to stay beside Asuka. The earth wall had just risen, and suddenly more than a dozen arrows shot out from the woods ahead. Clap, clap, clap. More than a dozen arrows all hit the earth wall. These arrows were not very powerful, so they did not penetrate the earth wall. Many fell to the ground, and only a few remained on the earth wall. Mr. Daimyo, there is an enemy attack, you stay where you are, my shadow clone will protect you. Chen Jiguo's daimyo was also someone who had seen the big scene, so he didn't panic. After hearing Dong Shenyao's words, he hugged his daughter and said, Yao-kun, don't worry, we won't mess around. Dong Shenyao stopped talking. The next moment, Dong Shenyao jumped up and jumped out directly from behind the earth wall. Seeing someone running out, a lot of arrows shot out from the woods. These arrows couldn't stop Dong Shenyao at all, so in just a second or two he was already close to the forest where the arrows were shot. Just came to the outside of the woods, and suddenly there was a sound of breaking the air. Before he could think about it, Dong Shenyao hurriedly dodged sideways. Bang, bang, bang. When Dong Shenyao dodged, he found that there were several shuriken on the ground. Are there ninjas? Dong Shenyao suddenly became vigilant, because the shuriken is basically only used if you endure it. Now the enemy is dark and we are clear, so Dong Shenyao can only go into the woods to find the enemy first. After all, if you can't even find the enemy, how can you fight this battle? Whoa! The trees shook for a while, and Dong Shenyao's figure had already disappeared into the woods. Without any hesitation, Dong Shenyao opened the Sharingan directly, and his eyesight suddenly increased, and soon he found some people more than 10 meters away. Dong Shenyao did not hesitate, and directly took out the shadow chopping blade from the seal. Whoosh! Dong Shenyao turned into a black shadow, and in an instant he was close to the enemy. No, someone is here. When Dong Shenyao appeared, he was immediately discovered. Kill! I saw two people with samurai swords in their hands heading straight for Dong Shenyao to attack. Dong Shenyao's face was expressionless. The figure had already avoided the attack of the two, and then the shadow-cutting knife had slashed, and the two warriors had already had their throats cut. Dong Shenyao didn't care about them anymore, and went straight to attack the other enemies. At this time, Dong Shenyao has roughly recognized the identities of these people. These people have everything they wear. Obviously they are not regular troops. Moreover, most of them were using katana swords, and they were also dressed as samurai. Seeing that most of the people were not ninjas, Dong Shenyao was relieved. Although there are strong warriors among the samurai, but the samurai has declined after all, so most samurai are weak, even genin is not as good, and there are still strong samurai in the Iron Country. Seeing that the two companions were killed by Dong Shenyao, the remaining 1.6 people not only did not fear, but aroused the ferocity in their hearts. One by one, they put down their bows and arrows, pulled out the samurai swords around their waists, and attacked Dong Shenyao. Dong Shenyao was extremely fast, and these warriors could not touch Dong Shenyao at all. Often their knives were cut out, but they had already lost trace of Dong Shenyao. Huh! The sword light flashed. A samurai had died under the sword of Dong Shenyao, and at this time Dong Shenyao had come to another samurai. In the blink of an eye, more than a dozen samurai were dead and wounded. But just as he was beheading a samurai again, a fireball suddenly hit. Finally shot. Dong Shenyao was not nervous at all, but a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Thank you, 6,241,322, for your monthly ticket support. Chapter 96 Farewell for now. Farewell. Facing the sudden fireball, a sneer appeared on the corner of Dong Shenyao's mouth. He had already discovered that there were ninjas around, so he never let his guard down. Whoosh. The moment the fireball hit, Dong Shenyao disappeared in place, and then the fireball directly hit the dead samurai. Boom! The fireball exploded, and the body was immediately wrapped in flames. But Dong Shenyao didn't care about it. He had already found the ninja who secretly attacked. Are you looking for me? At this time, there was a ninja in black with a mask on his face looking around looking for Dong Shenyao's figure, but suddenly a strange voice came from behind him. The sudden sound directly frightened the ninja, but before he could react, a blade had already emerged from his heart. The masked ninja's eyes widened. He did not expect the enemy to be so strong. Seeing that the ninja was already dead, Dong Shenyao pulled out the shadow-chopping blade and quickly left the place. The next moment, I saw a stream of blood spurting straight out of the Jinchuriki column. If it wasn't for Dong Shenyao dodging in time, I'm afraid he would have enjoyed a bloodbath. No, my lord was killed 15 times, run. Seeing that the most powerful ninjas had been killed by Dong Shenyao with ease, how could the remaining samurai dare to stay? One by one hurriedly ran towards the depths of the woods. Whoosh whoosh. There was a sound of breaking the air, and several fine needles condensed by the rocks flew out, and the 5 warriors who fled in an instant had been pierced by the fine needles. After confirming that there were no more living people around, Dong Shenyao put away the shadow-chopping blade and walked out of the woods. Seeing that Dong Shenyao was safe and sound, Asuka breathed a long sigh of relief. She just heard screams coming from the building, but Asuka was worried. Yo-kun, it's great that you are safe. Asuka said happily. It's just a bunch of clowns jumping on the beam. Okay, let's go. After speaking, Dong Shenyao continued to walk forward. The battle just now was not even a warm-up for him. Even though he killed more than 10 people, it was not difficult for Dong Shenyao at all. Those warriors were just ordinary people with strong bodies in the eyes of Dong Shenyao. As for the only ninja with some strength, they only had the strength of the elite genin, and it was not a problem to kill him with Dong Shenyao's strength in seconds. Yao, who attacked us? Walking on the road, Chen Zhiguo Daming asked. Different from his daughter, Chen Zhiguo Daming thought more. Of course, Dong Shenyao knew why the name of Chen Zhiguo asked this question, and immediately replied, Don't worry, Mr. Daming, these people did not intend to target you. I have already checked, these people are just ordinary bandits, it should be just right only found us. Dong Shenyao had checked before, those people were just ordinary bandits, and even that ninja was a wandering ninja. The so-called wandering ninjas are ninjas who do not belong to any ninja village. Most of these people accidentally obtained the method of chakra refining, so they became ninjas, and some belonged to some small ninja families, which were handed down from the Sengoku era. Yes, but did not join the shinobi village, but continued to pass on in the form of the Sengoku period. Hearing Dong Shenyao's answer, the name of Chen Zhiguo couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief. What he was most afraid of was that someone wanted to kill him, which meant that the Chen Zhiguo was in danger. As a daimyo, there are enemies, such as neighboring countries, or people in the country who want to replace him, etc. There was no attack on the next journey. When night fell, the three had already entered the territory of Chenjiguo, and they were very lucky to encounter a village. After a night in the village, the three of them hit the road again early the next morning. Finally, when it was near noon, Dong Shenyao escorted the father and daughter of Chen Zhiguo back to the capital, which represented the end of Dong Shenyao's mission. However, because he still has to teach Asuka to practice, he did not rush to leave, but planned to stay here for a day. A day passed in a blink of an eye, and yesterday Dong Shenyao spent the whole day teaching Asuka, and this was considered a fulfillment of the promise. At this time, Dong Shenyao didn't say goodbye to Asuka even after getting up, and quietly left the Daming mansion alone. But just as Dong Shenyao was leaving, two people, one big and one small, were standing in an attic in the Daming mansion, watching Dong Shenyao leave from the window. "Asuka, why don't you send him off?" Chen Zhiguo asked, looking at his daughter beside him. "Because I don't want him to see me crying," Asuka said with tears. "Hey, Asuka, you should give up," Chen Zhiguo Daming persuaded. In the eyes of the famous name of Chen Zhiguo, after this parting, it may be difficult for the two to have the opportunity to meet again in the future. "No, I won't give up. My father is now able to refine chakra, and Yao gave me some ninjutsu practice scrolls yesterday. I will definitely practice seriously and become someone who can be worthy of him," Asuka looked at said firmly. Seeing his daughter say this, Chen Zhiguo's name didn't say anything, he just hoped that time would kill everything. It's just that things are unpredictable, and no one knows what will happen in the end. On the road alone, Dong Shenyao's speed increased a lot. Finally returned to Konoha village before dark. He didn't rush home either, but went to Hokage's office to hand in the task first. Outside Hokage's office, Dong Shenyao quietly opened the door and looked inside. "Come in, Yao, don't worry, Tsunade is not here now." Senju Tobarama had already discovered Tashin Yao, and after seeing his actions, Senju Tobarama couldn't help but feel amused. Dong Shenyao heaved a long sigh of relief after hearing the words, and then opened the door and walked in. "Grandpa Hokage, I'm here to hand in the mission." "How, is there any danger on the way?" Senju Tobarama asked casually after finishing the quest scroll. "No, I just met a group of bandits," Dong Shenyao said lightly. He didn't intend to speak out about the encounter with the wandering ninja, after all, he was just a genin. "Well, here's a reward for the mission." "Grandpa Hokage, is there anything else?" Dong Shenyao asked after taking the money. "Yao, I do have a mission for you." Senju Tobarama's expression suddenly became serious. "What is Grandpa Hokage's mission?" "This is a reconnaissance mission, and it needs you and others to complete it. But the mission hasn't started yet. You should go home and have a good rest. Come back tomorrow morning, and I will tell you the details of the mission." "No problem, then Grandpa Hokage, I'll go first." Tobarama, Tashinyao turned around and left. After leaving the Hokage building, Tashinyao planned to visit Fumino Kimura, but when he came to Konoha Hospital, he learned that Fumino Kimura had been discharged. "It's so fast, I don't know how Wenyi is doing now." Chapter 97 Cape Ninja Village. Leaving Konoha Hospital, Tashinyao went to Kimura Fumino's house after having dinner on the street. "Yo, Yao-kun, you're here." Kimura Fumino's mother let Dong Shenyao in very enthusiastically. Auntie, I'm sorry to disturb you. I wonder how Brother Wenye is doing now. Dong Shenyao asked politely after saluting. Thank you Yao-kun for your concern. My family's Fumino is much better. The doctor has already said that he can recover as long as he stays at home for 2 days. Kimura Fumino's mother seemed very happy. That way I'm relieved. Just as the two were talking, Kimura Fumino, who heard the voice, came out of the bedroom. Yao, you're here. After seeing Dongshin Yao, Kimura Fumino looked very excited. Brother Wenye, why did you get out of bed? Dong Shenyao was a little worried. After all, the most serious injury to Kimura Wenye was his leg. I'm fine. Medical skills have said that now I'll be fine as long as I don't do strenuous exercise, and simple walking is fine. Kimura Fumino explained. That's fine. In this way, the two of you chatted for 400 sentences. And Kimura Fumino's mother left after serving tea for Dongshinyao, and she knew that she was just in the way by staying. Because there is still a task tomorrow, Dongshinyao didn't stay long. After inquiring about Kudo-shun and Uehara Kai's situation, Dongshinyao left. From Kimura Fumino, Tashinyao learned that Uehara Kai had left the village yesterday to perform a mission, but Kudo-shun had nothing to do, and only took some D-level missions every day. After all, his teammates are not there, so he can only take on some of the simplest tasks. It was still early after returning home, so Dong Shenyao entered the God creation space to have a look. He killed several people in the Chunin exam before, and among them there were 2 ninjas with special Jonin strength, which made Dong Shenyao's number of God building points soar, and he also completed the moment he got the Chunin vest. One task, that is, to become Chunin, which allowed him to get 300 God building points again. At this time, Dong Shenyao's creation point has reached more than 3,000. Although Dong Shenyao really wanted to exchange for the body of a fairy, or Mangekyo Sharingan, but seeing that his own god-making point was too different, Dong Shenyao resolutely gave up. Originally, Dong Shenyao was planning to continue accumulating, and wait for more god-making points to exchange for those high-level things, but when he saw 2 skills, he decided to exchange them. Of course, because he is a cultivation method of exchange, rather than learning it directly, it does not cost a lot of god creation points. After acquiring new skills, Dong Shenyao immediately began to practice. In a blink of an eye, the night passed, and the next morning, because there was a task to do, Dong Shenyao got up early, packed up, and came to the Hokage office. When Dong Shenyao came in, he found that there were already 3 ninjas in the office. These 3 people looked young, only 12 or 13 years old. Among them were 2 men and the other one was a girl. And they're all wearing the same ninja vest as him, apparently all Chunin. Yao, you are here. Grandpa Hokage doesn't know what the mission you were talking about yesterday. After simply glancing at the 3 ninjas, Dong Shenyao looked directly at Senju Tobarama. Don't worry, everyone hasn't arrived yet, I'll talk when everyone is there. Senju Tobarama said with a smile. Hearing that, Dong Shenyao stopped talking and just stood there and waited. The other 3 were obviously more curious about Dong Shenyao, so the 3 of them were secretly looking at Dong Shenyao. He looks handsome. This was what the female ninja thought. Che, another little white face. One of the darker boys thought to himself. I don't know how strong this person is. It seems that this mission needs to be carried out with him. Another handsome boy had some guesses. Time passed, and less than 10 minutes later, there was a knock on the door of the office. With Senju Tobarama's invitation to enter, the door opened and footsteps came. Huh. Dong Shenyao found that the footsteps sounded familiar, and turned around to see that it was Kudo-jun who came in. Brother Jun, why are you here? Dong Shenyao asked in surprise. It was Lord Hokage who asked me to come. Yo, you're back. After paying respects to Senju Tobarama, Kudo-shun greeted Tashinyao with a smile. Okay, now that everyone is here, let me tell you about the mission this time. Senju Tobarama's voice sounded, causing Tashinyao to give up the idea of continuing to talk with Kudo-shun. Just yesterday I received a letter of help from Kakuno Shinobi village of Inokuni. The letter said that they were attacked by unknown ninjas and wanted to ask for our help. But it's unclear who attacked them. So I'm going to send you to take a look. Your task this time is very simple, that is, to find out about the situation of the corner ninja village, as well as the information of the enemy, and then pass it on to me. Also, the captain this time is Dong Shenyao, and you all have to obey his arrangements. Okay, that's it for the mission. Do you still have any questions? Having said this, Senju Tobarama glanced at everyone. Lord Hokage, I don't know what kind of ninja village this corner ninja village is. Kudo-jun stood up and asked. Kakuno Ninja Village is a small ninja village. It is an ally of our Konoha and has always been attached to our Konoha, so we should provide assistance when they encounter an attack this time. However, your task is not to solve the enemy for them, so once there is a conflict with the enemy, you can choose to evacuate. Senju Tobarama did not forget to instruct after answering Kudo-shun's question. I know Hokage-sama. After that, Dong Shenyao and the others also asked some small questions before leaving the Hokage building. Two friends, we need to perform a mission together next, so why don't you introduce yourself now, so as to get to know each other. A few people had just left the Hokage building, and the handsome boy called Dongshin directly. Yao, two people. Okay, but since you brought it up, shouldn't you introduce yourself first? Kudo-jun looked at the handsome boy and asked. Okay, my name is Ishii, and these two are my teammates. I'm good at Suiton water-style ninjutsu. My name is Nishimura, and I'm good at Kaden fire-style. The darker boy introduced. Hello, my name is Yukino, I'm good at demonic illusion, and I know some medical ninjutsu. The only woman said with a friendly smile on her face. Hello, my name is Kudo-jun, I am teammates with this guy, and I am good at physique. Kudo-jun answered first. East Shinyao is good at Doden earth style. Dong Shinyao's introduction was concise. Chapter 98. Do it if you don't like it. It seems that you are the captain of our mission, but I don't know if you have the strength. Nishimura didn't have a good impression of Dong Shenyao from the first time he saw him. At this time, he learned that he was this time. After the captain of the mission, he was even more angry, so he directly provoked Dong Shenyao. Without waiting for Tashinyao to speak, Kudo-jun couldn't take it anymore. After all, Tashinyao was not only his teammate, but also his friend. Yao's strength is of course strong, and a Yao like you can beat 3. Kudo-jun mocked. That's right, then I'll have to take a lesson. Nishimura said with a gloomy face as he looked at Dongshin. Boring. Dong Shenyao gave Nishimura a disdainful look. Damn. Nishimura was furious when he saw that Dong Shenyao ignored his challenge and looked down on himself. Don't be afraid of Dong Shenyao. Nishimura sneered. Nishimura. Ishii hurriedly scolded, although he was not convinced to let the young Tashinyao be the captain, but he would not openly provoke him. After all, since Senju Tobarama made Tashinyao the captain, then Tashinyao naturally has what's special about him is that he won't make a move until he has figured out the details. But Nishimura is different. Just like the Kaden fire style he is good at, Nishimura's temper is also as irascible as Kaden fire style. Before seeing Dong Shenyao calling Senju Tobarama Hokage Grandpa, he thought that Dong Shenyao was a relative of Senju Tobarama, so Nishimura took it for granted that Senju Tobarama let Dong Shenyao be the team leader. Ishii, you don't need to say it, I just can't stand this kind of waste. Even if my strength is not very good, I will go through the back door. Speaking of which, Nishimura also looked at Dong Shenyao with disdain. Looking for death. Seeing Nishimura saying this to himself, Dong Shenyao knew that he had to take action. If he couldn't hold down Nishimura, then Nishimura would definitely be a hindrance when he did the task later. Whoosh! Dong Shenyao disappeared in place in an instant, and the next moment, he had already arrived in front of Nishimura. I'm not afraid of you. Seeing Dong Shenyao's attack, Nishimura was not only not afraid, but excited. He just wanted to teach Tashinyao a lesson, and it would be best if Lord Hokage could revoke Tashinyao's position as captain. Dong Shenyao punched directly after approaching Nishimura. Nishimura didn't respond slowly, and quickly raised his hand to resist. Bang! Dong Shenyao's fist hit Nishimura's palm directly. Just when Nishimura thought he could block Dong Shenyao's attack, he suddenly found that a force was coming out of his palm. This force was not something he could resist at all. Bang! Nishimura's palm not only did not block Dong Shenyao's fist, but instead was hit by Dong Shenyao's palm with his palm in the face. Ah! With a cry of pain, Nishimura quickly took 2 steps back. And Dong Shenyao didn't take the opportunity to shoot, but stopped. Blood flowed down the corner of Nishimura's mouth. The power of Dong Shenyao was not small, so Nishimura's face swelled directly. A hint of fear flashed in Ishii's eyes. He didn't expect Dong Shenyao to be so powerful. On the other hand, Shuinai didn't think so much, and was looking at Dong Shenyao with admiration. Kid, you dare to attack me, Kaiden Fire Style, Great Fireball Jutsu. Being punched by Dong Shenyao, Nishimura not only did not wake up, but became even more angry. In his opinion, the reason why he suffers a loss is not because of his lack of strength, but because Dong Shenyao was a sneak attack, and he was not ready at all, so Nishimura directly used ninjutsu in his anger. Don't. Ishii knew that it was broken, and it would be fine if it was just using taijutsu, but once ninjutsu was used, the nature would be different. Facing Nishimura's ninjutsu Tashinyao, he didn't dodge at all. Doden, Earth Style, Earth Shield. A rock shield condensed instantly, and the flame bombardment exploded directly on the shield. Ah, Dong Shenyao will be fine. Seeing that Dong Shenyao was covered in flames, Shuinai couldn't help but worry. Don't worry, with Yao's strength, Kaiden Fire Style can't hurt him. Kudo Jun smiled. Soon the flames dissipated, and then a rock shield was revealed. What? Seeing that his Kaiden Fire Style did not destroy Dong Shenyao's defense, Nishimura suddenly showed a look of not being confident. It's not that he hasn't met a Doden Earth Style ninja, but he's never met someone who can block his Kaiden Fire Style so easily. Whoosh! The flame disappeared, and Dong Shenyao acted again. In fact, he could take the opportunity to sneak attack just now, but he didn't do that, because Dong Shenyao was going to defeat Nishimura head-on, and only in this way could he completely subdue Nishimura. Damn, Kaiden Fire Style, Phoenix Sage Fire Technique. Seeing Dong Shenyao rushing over, Nishimura attacked again. I saw fireballs shot at Dong Shenyao one by one. Dong Shenyao's speed is very fast, and the fireballs shot by Nishimura can't hit him at all, and even if some of them can't be avoided, he will use the shadow chopping knife to smash them. Soon Dong Shenyao approached Exakin, and then stabbed at the heart of Exakin. Seeing this, Nishimura hurriedly dodged, but he had just dodged Dong Shenyao's knife. The next moment, the shadow chopping saber was already on his neck, and at this moment, another figure of Dong Shenyao appeared behind Nishimura. What? Nishimura's eyes widened. He did not expect that he would be defeated so quickly. Bang! I saw Dong Shenyao, who had just attacked Nishimura directly, turned into smoke and dissipated, and it was Shadow Clone. Crack, crack, crack. As expected of the champion of Chunin's selection test, it's really amazing, Ishii took it. A burst of applause sounded, and Ishii said with a look of admiration. You know me, Dong Shenyao asked after putting away the shadow chopping blade. I've heard of it before, but I've never been able to see it. I doubted your identity when I first heard your name, and I only confirmed it after seeing your battle with Nishimura. Ishii, do you mean that he is the champion? 2.1 Nishimura asked in confusion at this time. That's right, didn't you say you admire others before? I'm sorry, I didn't know you were the champion of the Chunin exam before. No wonder you are so strong. It seems that I didn't lose a wrong. Nishimura looked at Dongshin apologetically and said. It's okay, it's not me who suffers anyway. Dong Shenyao was really not angry. After all, he was the youngest among them, and he didn't know Nishimura and the others before, so it was normal for them to be unconvinced that it was normal for him to be the captain. Dong Shenyao himself would not be convinced. Ha ha ha, since the misunderstanding is resolved, let's hurry up and do the task. Shuinai reminded quickly. Shuinai's words broke the deadlock, and the next few people didn't mention what happened just now. Would you like to go to the hospital? Dong Shenyao looked at Nishimura and asked. Chapter 99 Arrive at Cape Ninja Village. Whoosh whoosh. There was a sound of breaking air in the woods, and I saw several figures quickly passing through, but within a few seconds, they had already run a distance of hundreds of meters. These people are very fast one by one. Ordinary people can't see their silhouettes clearly. If they do more, they can only see black shadows flashing before their eyes. Only the slightly swaying leaves indicate that someone has just passed by. Yao, how long will it take to get there? Kudo Shun asked as he walked through the woods. Soon, Dong Shenyao said without turning his head. At this time, it has been nearly a day since Dong Shenyao and the others set off. Under the full speed, several people have approached the border of the country of fire and are about to enter the territory of the country of wells. Soon Kudo, don't ask again, this is your 20th time. Nishimura complained with a scar on his face. Alala, don't worry about it, I'm just a little anxious, you see it's getting dark now. Kudo Jun said embarrassedly. Listening to the conversation between Kudo Shun and Nishimura, Ta Shenyao couldn't help recalling what happened before. The identity of Dong Shenyao 15. Originally, Ta Shenyao wanted Nishimura to go to Konoha Hospital, after all, his face was injured. However, Nishimura refused, after all, the task was important. This made Dong Shenyao take a look at Nishimura Gao, who can focus on tasks and is obviously a qualified ninja. In the end, after just giving Yukino, who knows medical ninjutsu, a brief treatment, the 5 of them set off. Along the way, the 5 people shuttled quickly through the woods, and because they did not encounter any trouble, they arrived at the border of the land of fire so quickly. Okay, the sun is about to set, let's find a place to rest first, and then continue our journey tomorrow. Seeing that the sun had mostly sunk into the horizon, Dong Shenyao couldn't help but slow down. Dong Shenyao was the captain, so there was no objection to his decision. Soon the 5 stopped at a relatively flat place. Because this time they came out to perform a mission, so everyone did not bring cooking utensils. After the bonfire was finally raised, everyone simply ate some dry food they brought with them for dinner. You now, Nishimura, you 2 rest here first. Jun, Ishii, you set traps around me. Yes. The task assigned by Dong Shenyao was meaningless to everyone. The only one who was a little dissatisfied was Nishimura. He knew that Dong Shenyao's arrangement was to treat him as a sick patient. Otherwise, why would he be the only one to rest among the 4 men? Just because he was afraid of Dong Shenyao, he didn't dare to refute it. Although he only rested here for a night, Dong Shenyao started to lay out traps very seriously. The traps they set up are not done by digging a hole, but connecting the surrounding trees with special silk threads, and wearing bells at the same time, so that once someone approaches and touches the silk threads, the bells will make a sound, and when the time comes, Dong Shenyao they can detect in advance. And some silk threads are even connected to the kunai and the detonating talisman. Once someone touches the silk thread, the kunai and the detonating talisman will activate. This is also the most basic trap used by ninjas, but because everyone has different arrangements, the damage they can cause is also different. After everything was arranged, Dong Shenyao arranged the order of the vigil, and everyone started chatting. After all, they need to complete the task together for a while, so they are ready to take this opportunity to get to know each other well. Through chatting, Dong Shenyao learned that Ishii and the others were all from the ninja family, not from the ninja school. Later, after the arrangement of Hokage, the 3 became teammates and followed a Jonin to do the task. It was not until he participated in the Chunin selection in Konoha village more than half a year ago and successfully became Chunin that he separated from the guidance Jonin and began to perform tasks alone. Not long ago, when Chunin took the exam, the 3 of them just left the village to perform a mission, so I didn't see the game, but I heard that the champion was a Konoha ninja named Dong Shenyao, who was very powerful. After learning that Ta Shenyao actually killed the ninjas in Iwagakure and Sunagakure villages, the 3 of Nishimura admired them very much. After hearing the name of Dong Shenyao before, they didn't think much about it, they just thought it was the same name, and it was only after seeing Dong Shenyao's peculiar way of drawing his sword that they recognized Dong Shenyao. Since Dong Shenyao used the shadow-slashing sword in the Chunin selection, his peculiar way of drawing the sword has been remembered by many people, and it is because this method looks cool, so many young ninjas competing to imitate, but unfortunately, not many ninjas conceal, and even fewer conceal weapons like Dong Shenyao. Chatting and chatting, several people were also a little tired, and slowly fell asleep. There were 2 shifts for Dong Shenyao's vigil. In the first half of the night, it was Nishimura and Ishii. In the second half of the night, it was Ta Shenyao himself and Kudo Shun. Although Dong Shenyao made a complete arrangement, the night was very peaceful, and the 5 of them did not encounter any attacks. The next morning, a few people washed up and ate dry food before going on the road again. The place where they spent the night last night was actually in the country of Wells, so today they just walked for less than 2 hours before they approached the village of Kakanoin. 200 ninjas from the village along the way. Could it be that the defenses of Kakanoin village are so lax? Kudo Shun said in surprise. If there are ninjas from other countries approaching in Konoha village, as long as they are within 10 miles of Konoha village, there will be Konoha ninjas who will show up to intercept them. Everyone be careful. Dong Shenyao didn't know what was going on, but he had a bad premonition in his heart, so he opened his mouth to remind a few people. When Jiaonin village appeared in the sight of several people, they were stunned. The Jiaonin village that appeared in their eyes was a dilapidated scene. The walls outside the village had been broken, and most of the houses inside had collapsed, and there were still many traces of burning. No, there's an accident in Jiaonin village. Dong Shenyao exclaimed and hurriedly quickened his pace. Soon the 5 people entered the corner ninja village. At this time, this place can no longer be called a village, and it should be called a ruin, because there is no complete building in the whole village, and there are traces of burning. Obviously, a fire has ignited here before, but the fire has just gone out. Everyone be careful. After reminding a few people, Dong Shenyao walked towards the village. Ask for a reward. Ask for flowers. Ask for a monthly pass. Chapter 100 Clue. 5 or 6 minutes later, Dong Shenyao and the others have quickly visited the entire Jiaonin village, but in the end they did not find a single living person, and the entire Jiaonin village had been turned into ruins, and a complete building could be seen. Not. The last 5 people could only return to the entrance of Jiaonin village. What should we do next, Captain? Ishii asked. It seems that the corner ninja village has encountered an accident, we are 1 step late. But our task is to find out the situation of the corner ninja village and who their enemies are. Although the corner ninja village has been destroyed now, our task is still it has to be done, so now we have to look for clues and find the murderer who wiped out the Kono ninja village. Dong Shenyao said after looking at a few people. Captain, tell me what we should do. Nishimura said carelessly. It's very simple. Now we will split up and search the village to see if we can find any useful clues. Yes. After assigning the task, the 5 people immediately began to act. Dong Shenyao turned into a black shadow and ran into the distance, running for hundreds of meters before slowing down. Walking among the ruins, this time Dong Shenyao did not look around like before, but searched very seriously. Not searching for the living, but for clues that might be left behind. However, Dong Shenyao was soon disappointed. Although there were a lot of corpses left here, it could be seen from their forehead guards that they were all ninjas from the Hornan village. After that, Dong Shenyao deliberately opened up a lot of ruins, but unfortunately there was still no gain. In the blink of an eye, half an hour had passed, and Dong Shenyao had already searched about a quarter of the corner ninja village. Just as he was about to continue his search, suddenly a shout came, "Captain, come here." Turning his head to look, Dong Shenyao found that Nishimura was running towards him quickly. What happened to Nishimura? When Nishimura stopped in front of Dong Shenyao, he gasped and said, "Captain, Ishii found some clues outside the village." Hearing this, Dong Shenyao's eyes lit up, and he said quickly, Mexican, take me there quickly. Nishimura also knew that the matter was urgent, so he could not take a rest, and hurriedly led the way. After a few minutes, the two had already left the corner of the village, and finally saw Ishii about 100 meters away from the village. When Dong Shenyao saw Ishii, he found that he was squatting on the ground and did not know what to study. It was not until Dong Shenyao walked to Ishii that he discovered that there was a blood-stained shuriken on the ground in front of Ishii. Ishii, the captain is here. Nishimura quickly reminded when Ishii was still there. Ah, Captain, you're here. Don't be a little fascinated by what you just watched. Ishii said a little embarrassedly. It's okay. By the way, Ishii, is this what you found? Dong Shenyao asked, pointing to the shuriken on the ground. Well, I found out that there were no clues in the village before, so I decided to come out and have a look. I didn't expect to find something here, Ishii said proudly. After being confirmed by Ishii, Dong Shenyao did not go to Ishii to leave the village at will, but squatted down and picked up the shuriken on the ground. There is a shuriken here. It seems that there was a battle here, but there are no corpses, so that means no one died here. Is it left behind when the enemy attacked, or is it the people from Kakanoin village who escaped? What about what was left? Dong Shenyao fell into deep thought for a while. Captain, what did you find? Nishimura couldn't help but feel curious when he saw Dong Shenyao staring at shuriken motionless. Well, I thought of something. Nishimura, please call Kudo-shun and Yukino, both of them. Yes. After taking the order, Nishimura left directly. Then Dong Shenyao looked at Ishii and said, Ishii, please look around to see if there are any traces left by the battle. Yes. Ishii didn't talk nonsense either, and dodged directly into the woods beside him. Dong Shenyao was not idle either. After putting away the blood-stained shuriken, he also began to look around. Huh. Soon Dong Shenyao found a footprint on the ground more than 10 meters away. This footprint is very unclear. If it wasn't for Dong Shenyao being extra careful, and his eyesight was excellent, I probably wouldn't have spotted it at all. The heel is facing the village. It seems that the person who left the footprints should be leaving Jiaonin village, but I don't know if it was left by the enemy or someone in Jiaonin village escaped. With doubts, Dong Shenyao continued to search. And just when Dong Shenyao found a clue again, Nishimura's shout came. Captain, I have already found Toshin Kudo and Yukino, where are you? Mexican, I'm here, you come here. Dong Shenyao quickly replied. Soon Kudo-shun and several others came to Dong Shenyao, and even Ishii followed. Look, Dong Shenyao stretched out his hand and pointed to the ground. What is this? Looking at the black dust on the ground, Kudo-shun was a little puzzled. Is this the ashes left after something burned? Ishii frowned. Ashes? What ashes? Nishimura was a little confused. I guess it should be the ashes left after the corpse was burned. Dong Shenyao said suddenly. Ah! Shui Nai couldn't help exclaiming when she heard the words. She was a woman after all, and she felt a little scared about the content of Dong Shenyao's words. Then everything makes sense. It seems that the people from Yujiao Ninja village escaped, but in the end they were caught up by the enemy. However, in order to destroy the corpse and destroy the traces, the corpse was directly burned. Ishii analyzed. But why did the enemy do this? There are still a lot of corpses in the corner ninja village, but they haven't been disposed of. Kudo-jun was a little puzzled. There should be people who escaped. The enemy did this to prevent possible reinforcements from finding out. Dong Shenyao explained. I see. It is very likely that someone in the corner ninja village has escaped, so as long as we find the ninja who escaped from the corner ninja village, we can know who the enemy is. Shui Nuo analyzed. That's right, everyone come with me. Judging from the traces, the people of Jiaonin village should have fled in this direction. Said, Dong Shenyao took the lead and walked towards the depths of the woods. The group seemed very careful. After all, no one knew whether the enemy had left. Ah, no, I'm going to die of exhaustion. Seeing that it was noon, Shuinai immediately stopped. Before, they first searched for clues in the village, and then they were on their way in the woods. After all, Yukino was a woman, and her physical strength was weak, so she was already exhausted. It's getting late, then let's take a rest here first. Seeing that it was lunch, Dong Shenyao directly ordered to start to rest.